Welcome to the stream for the Red Bull Home Ground qualifiers. This is the first real thing that's happening in Europe in 2021. Very happy to be hosting it, and it is very much not only a prologue for the main tournament, Simo, but also EU when it comes to the Valorant Champions Tour, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about this morning. It's we get to see a lot of it in North America where I'm primarily from, and there's a lot of tournaments, a lot of teams that you may not know who they are or where they're from, and you get to kind of see them crawl through this open qualifier. We get to see that here for Europe, and like you said, we don't get to see that too often. There's teams from Turkey, from Spain, from Russia, from the Netherlands, from Sweden, coming from all over Europe and even just outside of Europe just to compete and just to be a part of something special.
It's worth going over some of the quick rules and stuff. We're about to get into game with Rix.gg versus Kriegsliden, which is a Dutch team. I think it's Dutch for Warriors, and I had to learn the pronunciation very quickly. But all of these games today, at least, there's going to be 4 rounds, and it's all going to be best of ones in typical European fashion. So this day should be relatively straightforward. It's a case of being able to push on through and just win the games for teams like Rix.gg, but also Gambit's in here, Singularity, all of these other teams, Team Fighters. They should be getting through this no problem. Tomorrow, however, it not only gets a bit busy in regards to some of the other teams, we have some seeded top teams such as Defuse in there, a certain special roster that's been put together with the likes of Brams in it, for example, and as well as a Team Oxygen, I think, are a part of this too. So we're going to go over all of that tomorrow, but these are all best of ones. We're about to get into game with Rix.gg. I know that you haven't really casted as much EU for a while. I think the last thing we did was Game Goonie, right? Which was Vodafone Giants, an old Vodafone Giants roster versus Team Heretics. And so I don't know how much you've kept up with Rix.gg, but they have a new roster. I didn't know if you knew that or not, Simo.
Definitely did not. The one thing I do know about this roster is, of course, prior Boston Uprising RCK off tank. But outside of that, that's all I know. That is all I know. But you tend to see a lot of European teams kind of built around certain Overwatch X-Pros in certain instances. I think in NA it leans a little bit more to CS, whereas in Europe you tend to see a lot more Overwatch players kind of make that jump. Um, and it'll be interesting. I know that RCK is now built around a bunch of Overwatch players, but it's good to see players coming in from different games, especially a game that has hitscan, but is not completely revolving around hitscan, especially in RCK's case where he was playing off tank.
Revolving around hit scan. I always like stuff that does that. But Rix.gg going to be attacking first. Again, all of these games are best of one. It's fair to say that Rix should be winning this one. We will, bearing in mind if they get that far, be following them for the first couple of games. But the plan, at least now, because it is on my stream, I guess we can have a bit more of creative freedom on who we're watching. Most likely going to be going to the top bracket where teams like Wave and I think it's Gambit in that one that could be sort of battling it out.
Well, quite honestly, love me some Gambit. Was a big fan of them in League of Legends, and of course they had some impressive runs in CS:GO as well. As the organization, you love to see it.
I have the spike.
Early looks at this round, though. Yeah? Why'd you get freaked out?
I got freaked out because you started talking and it was the stream that was opened. And that's why I stopped talking, because I thought you started again. I was like, hold on, did you just say this? I'm getting a case of deja vu. We can go over like the roster, because that's the main thing with this Rix.gg team as we get into the pistol, is just who's playing what. Because you've got Luzu that's in this roster, Otom that came from Meow Mode, who was a terrific jet. It's a question now of who plays what, and Fry even on the Cypher is an interesting one. And right now Rick's not looking as good on the pistol, at least.
I don't think RCK is going to be quite happy about the bend as well. Looks into that 50 angle and does get taken down.
One enemy remaining.
I like the... Wow. That's Sushi Killer. Okay. Just a pistol, though. Just a pistol. What a crosshair. And he's even got the fire error mode thing on. You saw the top of his crosshair disappear once he started spraying. You don't get to see that a lot, let me tell you.
So let's have a look at actually this, because this is why I was very curious. This is the first time that this roster has ever played for Rix.GG. I do think, as much as I love the ex-Royals guys from way back when, I do think that this is a stark upgrade in talent. You got Luzu, who is still going to be on the jet. Luzu and Fry are the main bare bone of this team that have stayed with the roster. Aske has always been playing Silver and Breach, so that makes sense. Otom on the Phoenix. I like them on the double duelist, but I gotta say, Fry has a really good raise as well. I'm curious, but they are 1-0 down against Craig Schlieden, is how you pronounce it. So again, had to learn that very quickly from one of my Dutch friends, but in any case, no buy-up, I don't think.
Feels like we're going to see Sushi Killer play towards this tree room quite consistently. Last time he was playing with Yanis as well with the crossfire in the tree room, but looks like he's just not really letting them have that catwalk control, and you'll love to see that. You know, he'll give up mid, no problem, and play Food Market and defender spawn, but this hold now, of course, the push comes in, and yeah, they're not letting them walk through that for free.
One enemy remaining.
Glenn could get the ace at this point. The shock dart's in the right spot, and he does. The most undramatic name in history of Glenn, absolutely tearing apart Rix.GG's eco. Now the full buy is coming in. Hunter's Fury not quite available for the silver because they're the only 5 kills that he's got so far. But I think already, considering he's a best of ones, these first full buys that come through in a game like this are very much important for Rix.GG to get right.
We also have to remind ourselves that this is single elimination, at least for this first qualifier phase. Phase 2 is also single elimination, but you've got more maps to go through. This is a best of one. If Greg Schlieden are able to best Rix.GG, that would be a, you know, according to you and according to many, I think a huge upset. But it does boil down to how this gun round goes. Greg Schlieden have had a great hold and playing contact towards some aggressive points in the map, B main, tree, and for this round in particular, Marty's playing up close and personal through the mid. So as the smokes go down, he's going to have at least a little bit of a decent angle and play within it. So you like this aggression. You love to see it from Greg Schlieden.
Thank you all for tuning in today as well, whilst we have a bit of a breather, but I like this double hold from Krieg Schleiden in mid. It's very aggressive. And Rix.GG have a lot to do. It's a great primer, I suppose, a tournament like this to prepare for challenges, but they really do need to hit the ground running, and the turret is the first thing that gives the defenders this idea that it's coming in. The Bucky is good for one, but Autumn, fully upgraded to the Vandal, is going to try and find exactly where the Killjoy's holding. The utility was in a nice spot too. And now it's all up to Glenn again with the Spectre, trying to clutch it out yet again. He can at least get RCK before the spike gets planted. And all 3 of these players on the defense coming through, but they all line up for Luzza. They have no idea where Glenn is.
So at least some damage has been done. You saw Luzza was in a decent position. Might have been able to get the 2-piece, but you know, sending out a second right click would have taken a little bit of time, and time he did not have. So, of course, on the opposite side, Rix do lose 2 members, not going to be able to buy as effectively this round. Moving into this one, a great, at least economic conversion for Krieg Schlieden. Despite buying up on that second round, they'll be able to sit quite comfortably. At least Sushi Killer is going to have the op and light armor, and have an angle in towards B lobby, which is where Latex, or sorry, not Latex, Trinkus is playing. He's not going to swing though quite yet.
Watching that angle, Latex is going to keep that position, and he's in a little bit of a cubby that makes sure that this Aldron that's coming through from Glenn doesn't quite spot him in time, to the point that he now has to go and check it out for himself. Latex has to be very careful of how wide he peeks, because he's got a flank coming in, a great test of his character position. He wins that one engagement, the operator shot comes in from Sushi, but it's a blank, it doesn't catch all that much, and an opening now for Rix.GG to head over to the B site. Nobody's playing from on it. The Omen is going to smoke it, but it's going to be a bit later, and now Otom with the run it back. Haven't seen many Phoenixes in Europe at this point. Is going to be clearing some of these angles, and they know roughly where Marty's going to be at this point. The dismiss is an aggressive one, but Luzu wins that engagement.
That's tough. I like the execution there from Rix. But still, weapons are online, at least for Sushi Killers. Got the op and the blades. Really the whole tool belt for Jet if he really wanted to use it. Unfortunately, it'll just back away and play contact. You really loved how that was played. Might have been a little bit over aggressive for Glenn because it was off of that frag for Latex and company that they were able to really fully rotate off. And I like how quickly Rick's GG members did pull off of the A side potential hit. The smoke went off to stop the op coming in from Catwalk. They were in a really great position, but Sushi Killer's still alive and still a problem and still thwarting some of that economy. But that shot, super unfortunate. Now he's just trying to escape. Oh, there's a player, sees one. Can he survive it though? No bullets left. Can't really reload because he's going to be in trouble. Tailwinds to safety, and that will be the round for Rick's GG. All tied up, and economy favoring the attack.
Now the ultimates are starting to come on board. The run it back, used from Otom, didn't really catch that much when it came to frags, but it provided an opening, certainly getting to the back of the B site. It forced Marty out from his position. He had to make an aggressive play, and it didn't go well. But the Hunter's Fury from Glenn, is he in a position where he's looking to fire it across straight away? No, the recon dart is looking to be the play that he's wanted to put together. Obviously, if he tags much, the ult might come out, but this A execute is coming in thick and fast from Rix.GG. Straight away, these engagements being lost out. Marty catching in, but YNS, the flank through the smoke wasn't expected by neither the Jet nor the Omen. Now Autumn eager to trade, but it's a 3v4.
A well-placed digital molly as well from Killjoy. Now the Hunter's Fury, like you highlighted, waiting for the post plant, finds Phoenix. And now it's just the two players playing towards a main and a lobby. And it's a little bit troublesome. Phrase 13 HP. You also have the Sova with the lineup for the shock darts, just trying to find that diffuser. And that diffuser will not die. So now the spray coming through. Alarm bot in as well. Frey in a little bit of trouble. He's in a lot of trouble as the shock dart will find him. RCK having a little bit of success, but Quickly didn't actually find an answer back. After, I think, a pretty solid execute, but Ines, Digital Molly and the Bulldog there as well, just had a great angle and was able to back away, wait for the rest of his team.
Straight away, a real test of what this team could do. I'm always nervous for debuts of teams. And there has been some great opening opportunities for teams to do well. But I think for the most part, Simo, a lot of the times it's been very difficult for a new team to come together. Marty's still 0-3 on the Reyna though. He's not having a great time in the server. But still, a full buy-up available from Rix.GG, and RCK has the Hunter's Fury. If he could get a tag on the Jet, that would have been huge, but Latex is actually there to flush him out. A nice strategy that works out pretty well and allows Rix a 5v4 going into whatever execute they want at this point.
Yeah, they have their pick of the litter, but so far, haven't really played towards Catwalk. These A executes are going to be very difficult as it comes to Ines holding down with all the utility he's got, and he's not even playing what I would say consider offsite utility. He's playing up in your face. You want to try to break through, I will make sure that that does not happen. Of course, on the opposite side, you've got Glenn. And imagine without looking at his perspective, he's probably spraying through walls, sending recon bolts every now and then just to see who's on the opposite side. And that's how the round, of course, started as well. But this A execute, see if Ines can work his magic once again.
They know roughly where YNS is going to be playing from this time. He still gets a kill with a Guardian. So it is worth it at this point. The spike is going to get planted, sorry. Right now, it's a big question of Kreisleden, where they're going to play from at this point. They're all coming through from Raptors, and the Aldrone is going to be the main point of contact. Paranoia is good from Trengis. Marty's trying to use this chance to sneak in into an aggressive angle. Does get a kill in the end. Now it's all up to Luzza, who is playing in hell. Still has his ultimate if he wants it, but he wants to take this engagement with a Vandal. Has to split these isolated engagements one by one, but can't win it up against Glenn. 4-2 to Kreisleden.
Great start for them. Is it Ines or is it YNS? Or which one is it?
Point, I don't mean this in a negative way to Kreisleden, but I would assume that they've not been on broadcast before, so I don't think it inherently matters.
Okay.
So I mean, they could tell us off afterwards. Like, I mean, I'm more than happy to continue on with these guys for a couple of rounds if they do beat Rix, but we'll have to sort of wait and see. 10-2 is Glenn, though. After that ace early on, he's still being able to keep that momentum going and is a star player so far on this roster. And Rix now seemingly have it all to do. It's a half buy, or at least a lower one, with a Spectre in the hands of Latex. And another A execute. Wasn't expecting Sushi Killer to maybe play in with the Bucky in the smoke again. Mr. Frenzy just shuts that one down.
Ness playing off-site, waiting for the rest of the team to arrive, and boy, have they. Marty with the Spectre going to take one down. Still, the execute is forced in. Spike about to be planted, and of course, Craig Schlieden in a decent position to play retake. Look at the Omen. Look at where we've got Latex playing. He's playing from range. Glenn, of course, now going to start to come through, but RCK playing close. Strengus now has the responsibility to push forward. Marty with 1, Marty with 2, 3 on the round. And this eco for Rix not really going to go anywhere. They do manage to take 2, so at least a little bit of a hit to the economy of Craig Schlieden, but now we're at 5-2 on the defensive end.
Spike is diffused here.
It's worth adding that one of the reasons why this was a bit of a delayed start today is that the bracket did change up a little bit, which never benefits Rix, I would say, in that scenario. Not that I think they anti-stratted their previous opponents this early on within an open qualifier. However, I do think that when you do change an opponent last second, all of the ideas and things that you prepared for over the last 12 hours maybe not going to work as well. So you have to deal with that curveball, and Craig Schlieden has been that curveball completely. A lockdown available from them from the Killjoy. Going to be aggressive on A main, but it is just going to be Fry with the camera, just checking that angle, making sure that nobody pushes them. More of a straightforward default, but look at Matty yet again. The Aldra doesn't catch him. He does whiff the lines on Latex, who doesn't realize what's going on at this point, and I don't blame him. Sushi with the operator gets the kill onto RCK. And Otom using this opportunity to try and to sneak to see if he can take some of these fights. But it's only Luzza with the up that gets one.
Oh, he's being chased down here by Trengus. There's the Owl Drone, tags him through. He's got to reposition. Sushi Killer will find Frey. Now it's just down to Luzza, who's hoping to hold on to this op. Maybe trying to find a pick on the way out. Smokes go down. He's looking for something. He'll find it. Still alive. 34 HP. There's the flick. Not going to be enough. And Sushi Killer will scoop that one up for free. That's Craig Schlieden. Wow. That was the gun round for Rix. Now, of course, the economy is going to be in a little bit of a tougher spot. And you saw 2 members fall apart easily in the beginning of that round. Sushi Killer with that frag from range from Catwalk. And then, of course, looking at back to Luzza here. He had a little bit of moment of grace, but it all fell apart quite early on in the round in favor of Craig Schlieden.
Nice test, I suppose, from Luzza at that point. By the way, replays. Shout out to Bryce, who is our producer for the weekend. Worked with him on the First Strike qualifiers for North America, the UMG ones, and we had a grand old time. So it's exciting to be able to produce a high-quality stream like this for such a big event. Another run it back was good. This was one of the main openings for Rix, and it is one here again as Glenn playing on the site, fully hit by Latex's Paranoia. Enables a flurry of different utility to be used, but it's Marty flanking in behind, catching Otom as the run it back places him back into his starting position. You know roughly that they are being pincered to an extent, to the point that Latex is now hiding in this cubby. Big ask now as the Empress is dedicated. The lockdown is going to shut them in, but luckily a Hunter's Fury is available from RCK just to make sure that that ultimate doesn't catch him out. Need to get a bit more information and damage in onto the Jet on the side of Craig Schlieden.
And they are just tagging them up for free. A Hunter's Fury and a Shock Dart onto Sushi Killer. Great stuff from RCK, finding that lineup, being able to connect with the ulti, and then, of course, that utility damage. And Rix find a round off of the back of aggressive Autumn. And, of course, like you said earlier on in this half, not a lot of Phoenixes in Europe, and you'd probably anticipate some, you know, the fiery spirit and the fiery spirit of certain European countries, but this is probably the first time we'll see it, and it really worked out in that round. But I think if you're going to be relying on that as like an execution strategy, you should be looking at farming orbs for Autumn. I don't really think they're doing that on Rix's side.
It's a key thing for North America. Most certainly. I remember the games that we casted with Sentinels, and I'm just dreaming of 6 Phoenix on Haven. And you're right, that is a key part of the win condition, fighting for those orbs, making sure that you have a run it back every 3 rounds. Not quite as often as the Seeker ultimates from Sky even, but Sushi dancing with the devil a little bit there, you gotta say. I don't think he meant to do that. I think he meant to dash back more than anything. But YNS has been doing such a good job of shutting down the approaching A hits. But the information that they've gathered has given Glenn the idea that this is going to be a B hit, considering you only had Fry over there lurking. He's been defaulting there each and every time. So I like the thought process from the defending team. It didn't quite work out with the ultimate, but Matty's operator sure did.
Wow, and Autumn playing incredibly close. I don't know what he was hoping to accomplish, but Liza's got an angle. Let's see who wins this one. This is about to be spicy. Marty up 200 HP, overhealed, no armor remaining, and he's playing this angle very conservatively. Ines playing towards the wine cellar. Of course, that op angle will be held off, and Ines just trying to survive now as another shock dart's going to likely come his way. Not going to survive it. Solid work there from RCK to clear things out, but it really is all down to him. So despite all that solid work that he's been working up to, Sushi Killer will be his demise. Craig Schlieden really off to a hot start. You know, I think they can still sneak away a round or two. The economy's not looking so great, and considering the economy's been reset, if Ricks lose this round, we will likely see a 9-3 finish.
Yeah, I'm still not as worried about Ricks than I should be. I don't know if it's one of those orgs that is like, you can't call us Ricks. You gotta call us Ricks.gg every time, so I'll try and refrain from doing that. But I do think that it is going to be very hard to sort of attack as a new team. You've got to set up all of these defaults and executes and hope it goes well. More often than not, it's always going to go better in practice than it does in official. So the defense should relieve a bit of the stress on the side of Ricks once they switch over there. But 8-4, half, 9-5, if they can get 5 rounds, that would be key. But they are going for yet another A execute. The ultimate's been formed out. YNS holding from another aggressive angle, but Sushi Killer within the smoke just gets peppered down. YNS is able to at least get one, but the double peak really scatters his crosshair for a second and provides an opening for the spike to be planted on A.
Glenn, recon bolt coming in, but other than that, he's got nothing left in the tank. Ultimate coming through. That's a TP to wine cellar. Recon bolt's going to spot out. Oh, doesn't even get the tag, but Marty's going to even those odds. Still has another shot down to 5 HP. He might need to use a Dismiss or Devourer coming in soon. Trengus comes in from the opposite side. That's a great crossfire, and swings are coming in at the perfect times. Marty and Glenn. Sounds like a sitcom, but they make it work. They make the audience laugh, and they win the round.
You failed. Now flee.
Oh, and this is not the dream debut you were hoping for. I
Last
think the
round in the
dream
half.
opportunity for Ricks is obviously to qualify. But it is worth adding that out of the 64 teams that are in this qualifier, only one is going to go to the main event next week. Chance of the prize pool of 25k. Not only did he have to get through today's gauntlet, but then he have to play up some of the most established teams within the region that weren't invited. Oxygen, for one, is the one that stands out to me. This Bram stack, I guess we'll call it. I don't know what name they're going under this tournament, but it's not an org, I can tell you that much. So we'll have to sort of see on what they're doing at this point. But one's foot in front of the other for Rigs.gg, and they could be slipping straight away.
Here comes the classic jet execute. Just get those cloud bursts down, and Ines, once again, he's playing in a different spot every single time, and this time they'll play guess who. They'll find him eventually, not before a couple of frags go to the way of Craig Schlieden down to the 3v2, and they're here. They're not going to let that spike down. Marty's been playing phenomenally, but missing a crucial shot that might have put them over the edge earlier rather than later. Autumn just trying to find where that Omen is playing, and the hot hands is perfect. Not letting him cross over the bridge. You shall not pass. And now Autumn running back, looking to try to clear out the tree room, but he goes not in the most ideal direction. That'll be, of course, the running back clone that goes back. And, of course, the spike is ticking. Marty and company have got to figure out how are they going to break their way in. That's 2 ops. They can't play contact because it's difficult. Now, of course, we hear the swap, the Vandal here for Marty. Dismiss and Devour, of course, is available. There's going to be Autumn. That's the frag that comes easy. Down to 1 player Dismiss. Okay, there we go. I know where you're located. Sushi drops. And like clockwork, Craig Schlieden give us a 9-3 half. Let's see how Rick's GG bounced back in the second.
What a pretty difficult post plant that was from Rix. I wasn't
Switching
a
sides.
fan of a very early run it back from Otom. He had time to work with it, delayed the clock a little bit, sure, but you could just sort of tell from that point that Fry and Otom weren't really sure where they wanted to play from, what areas were safe, whether they were being flanked from Marty down A main as he was doing on B, whether Tree and Garden was clear or not. I think they didn't realize clearly how much space they had to work with and just alienated themselves on the site. Straightforward stuff so far for Craig Schleiden, who are now going to be attacking very quick A execute. And it's safe to say, with this game being a best of one, this is a must-win pistol for Rix.
We'll see if that does end up happening, if they do end up forcing up, but it's going to be an aggressive contact push here. But so far, Craig Schleiden playing it slow. Here's the one way, and Luzza does not find any success. Autumn's just trying to find at least an answer back. There's the hot hands, and he's still alive somehow. He's going to find picks, and he's going to cook one alive. It's Glenn that feels the flames. Down to 2 final members here for Craig Schleiden, and Rick's GG, at least for the moment, are able to stave off the push. They'll find 3 here for Autumn. Down to Trengus. He'll pick up the bomb, or the spike rather, but I don't think he's going to be finding a lot of success here.
This is now very key for Rix to just do as well as they can on the defense. Their setups might allow for it. And really, whilst it's been a straightforward defending half for Craig Schleiden, the attack might be something else entirely. This Trengus with the spike is going to be moving way over. The Cubby is held down from Latex at this point, and not really too much over on B, but there is a camera and a tripwire just to let them know whether or not that's the direction they're going. But I said it was an important round for Latex and Rix GG to be winning. They did it flawlessly, but they're not out of the woods just yet. Look at the rounds that they've been able to get. They've only been able to string a couple together. And how many of those attacking rounds were defuses? You know, if I'm Caesar, I'm looking at this and I'm going, all right, well, we need to work on our post plant sort of set at this point. And I think for the most part, you could see some of the evidence stuff that they could be working on, but this again should be a 5th round for Rix on the board. There's no force up from Klagschleden. Can be seen at least.
Revealing area.
Win condition here for the attack is to do some damage, find some picks, and for Rix, they want to hold on to everything that they can, get that 3rd bonus round, put themselves in a solid position. That Glenn does get spotted out there, at least by the Owl drone, and of course now the swing comes from Latex to find a solid answer back. This doesn't look like it's going to be very successful. At least they'll find Autumn, and that's a weapon upgrade. So Luzza, if he can't hold off this push, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. But you're seeing Craig Schleiden play it quite interestingly. Maybe trying to play
Cover going out.
a little bit of ring around the rosy, pull some members off of the B site for Rick GG, but Frey doesn't want any part of that. He's going to come back, make sure that things are okay on the B site. Still wait in anticipation where Craig Schleiden are going to hit.
So holding this angle is smart enough to know that he was going to get overrun for a second. The paranoia is good to connect from Trengus, but the guns were better. The positions were stronger from Rix. The 5th round is there after taking a couple of casualties, but nothing really enough to concern them at this point. So the full buy-up is coming in from Craig Schleiden. Vandals across the board. Again, we can just sort of see. I really like this from Luzza, that he doesn't just go, oh, there's more people walking into my crosshair, I could just mow them down. He's wise enough to go, oh, I'm going to get overrun here, I'm going to just disconnect out of here. And this stack with Latex is great. Smart play from him. I think he's failed to light the world on fire, and there's been promises of him being a very good player, Lazu. Certainly from like the Prodigy stacks that were put together. He didn't really find his fame at this point, so I think it's incredibly important that he is the carry star player of this team, because he's on such a pivotal role.
Luzza's in a off angle here. There's the swing. He's going to find the pick from range. And of course, there's a follow-up from Autumn. He's going to throw the hot hands down, and of course, that's the tailwind out. Updraft over. Yeah, Sushi Killer was dead to rights. This is the gun round for Craig Schleiden, so if they do not find success here, they're going to be down a couple of rounds, and that's going to give a huge opportunity for Rick's GG to find some answers back into this game, especially on the defensive end.
Autumn is going to proactively take some of this space with the help of RCK shock darts. He knows that he has a bit of a clearing. But it's whether he wants to use that utility at that point. In fact, no, Recon Dart is going to be the thing that's used to
30
allow
seconds
Autumn
left.
to check that this is all clear. Now, a real question for Fry, who is just checking behind him just in case he wins that first engagement. He's only
One
done 30
enemy
HP.
remaining.
Latex is there to help. And have isolated it now down to Marty, who does win that engagement onto the Omen. But he's swarmed by 4 Rick's GG players ready to take the fight. He is able to break them down one by one. I was a little bit concerned considering how low both Luzza and Fry were in that fight, but it's a 6th on the board for them.
Potentially the 7th up and coming here, Ryan, as of course Craig Schleiden economy is not really in a good spot. After that gun round, they were only able to take 1 member, 2 members off up against Rick GG. So I think it really, so far at least, the tail of this half has been the ability for Rick GG to stuff this A main push. And it's been Autumn, it's been Luzza. You could tell, I think, by the way Craig Schleiden are positioned, they want to start to pull those members off and be stacked a little bit heavier to the B side. So I think we're going to see a couple of B hits for a couple of rounds in a row, because I don't know if they're really trusting their ability to deal with this Phoenix and Jet on the opposite side.
Phoenix makes sense, really. It's not usually an agent pick, at least as far as I know, that is common to see in this part of the Atlantic, at least. Marty's lair is going to be the way that opens it up, and the execute is good. Paranoia even better for Latex. He's having a great game so far. Knows roughly where these players are going to be as more cyber cages are thrown out from Fry, just holding it down. They don't know that Marty is in this cubby. The camera don't think catches him either at this point, which is even more surprising. Yet Fry gets caught out in the weirdest engagement, and Marty's able to get even more with the Sheriff Latex taking damage. Has no idea what's going on, but RCK coming to the rescue brings Glenn down to 5 HP. Oh, for a second there, Simo, that was looking to be a very tragic round coming in from Ricks, but they pull it back.
Glenn, 3 shots left in the chamber. Not gonna need him. Not gonna need him. Moving in, of course, to the next round. Rick GG really slowly starting to come back. Yeah, it was a little scary, but when you look at a player like Marty, he on the opposite side of Latex has been having a phenomenal game, and it's really his ability. This guy's a star player through and through, and it's the Reyna, not just the Sheriff play, but really his ability to retake a site and just find these great opening picks to say, okay, I found 1, I found 2, you guys are safe to come on over and defuse, right? He's been such a great entry for this team, but he's got to do a lot of heavy lifting on this half because Ricks are doing a phenomenal job of stuffing pushes early and not letting any ground come in. We've even seen that here. Autumn putting up a blaze wall to run it back, just trying to find some early space and not let Craig Schleiden feel safe, even on the attack.
Tale of 2 halves, really. Is a typical British football idiom. Considering Ricks is a British hog, it does sort of line up nicely for them so far. 2 rounds behind. Engagements and damage done in onto Marty, and obviously that kill onto YNS has opened up the board for Ricks.gg, but Marty's closing it in behind them. Autumn taking out in mid. Now Latex is having to trade out his buddy, and Luzza with the operator is finding much more success watching this angle. Gets 2 in one shot. The collateral 4K from Luzza. All falling into line now from Rick's GG. Stellar. Love it.
Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. That was painful. But you love to see stuff like that, and especially for a player like Luzza, you can imagine how ecstatic he may be that this team should be built around him, or at least should cater to him in terms of the play style that he brings. And finding a collateral like that and a 4K on the round, that is only one. It's a one-way ticket to success, and I'm imagining this could be the momentum builder here for them. Tie us up potentially. It's an eco for Craig Schleiden.
Aldrin gets a lot of information by finding absolutely nothing. With this eco, Craig Schleiden just holding to see if anybody aggressively pushes them. But whilst Ricks have been able to take a lot of information and a lot of space away from the attackers, They're certainly not going to go up against these sheriffs on fights they don't need to. Look at this lockdown B site from Rix. 3 players watching over with the camera. And it's, I guess, strong stuff from Craig Schleiden. I would say mature would be the word that I would use of how they wanted to sort of pull down the time and then go for an execute. Very Team Liquid of them. But much like Team Liquid, it's not quite working out the way that they hoped to. At least it is an eco, to be fair. And they do get a few kills in another bizarre scenario where things could have gone very wrong. But now it's a 3 versus 2. Trengus with the Sheriff is going to try and find these angles, but they weren't expecting RCK to be there again. I like the angles that he's been holding, but 9-all is now the score from 9-3. And Rix have managed to pull it back. They've done the impossible.
I just don't know. I just don't understand. Like, you were like, how they didn't expect RCK to be from that angle, but it's the alleyway from defender spawn. Like, come on.
I think it's timings, right? I think at that point, because of maybe there's a sense of being a bit frag horny as well, where they just sort of assume that Rix are going to push them so aggressively that they're not going to be in such a passive position. But RCK, and I mean this in the best ways, is the embodiment of passive Sova. He's very much support focused. He's not really a fragger. It's the same as Breach, which is why he's a strong Breach too. The question is really, yeah, you have a lot of people that frag out on Sova and stuff that they don't really do the supportive play, but can they do more? Glenn has had a good series for that on the Sova, but the Hunter's Fury, not so much catching stuff. It's more of an awkward engagement still happening in Cubby as both teams are trading out the frags. Fry trying to push down B main, was good for one, but can't get the second onto Glenn. Now Latex put in a very precarious spot, but RCK yet again bailing him out.
Yeah, one at a time. Players will fall. Just down a Sushi Killer. Has the op. Some of that movement was likely heard by Latex of him escaping or running away, but there's a huge pinch coming in from Luzza. I believe he found an early pick. I know he got traded. Or there was a trade of some sorts. Early pickup catwalk.
30 seconds
Sushi
left.
Killer has actually a lot of ground on this A site. It's a 1v3. He's got an op. This is where I would have probably loved him to pick up an assault rifle. Find a little bit easier of a time to find these 1v1 duels, but he's got to deal with the op. And of course, there's an op on the other side. Luzza will take him down. The pinch. He didn't quite see the cross in the courtyard. And now Rix find the lead and are 3 rounds away. Closing out this map.
It's been all them for a few rounds, and because Craig Schleiden have done so little on their attacking half, I imagine another eco is going to be required of it. Oh, maybe not. Barely at this point. If Rix win this round, you would imagine that Craig Schleiden would have to eco. And at that point, Rix.gg would be on match point. It's been very awkward for both teams on their attacking halves. But the difference being is that whilst Rix could get the spike plant a lot of the time, it was diffused. Craig Schleiden failing to do that up until that final round. It was been great with the operator role. You could see pretty much the counter-strike playing in from him. Fry gets a lot of information on where this execution is going to be coming in from. Paranoia connects, but there's no follow-up, and the lockdown is going to force away these players from the B site. But Hunter's Fury is only going to come in to destroy the ult. Maybe not even that at this point. See if he can get any kills. That's a bit of an awkward one if this doesn't go right for Rix.
Well, Sushi Killer and Bucky name a more common combination. He'll be taken down. Of course, the spike does end up getting planted. But still, they're itching so closely forward. Luzza finds another one. Marty will trade one out. Glenn finds one. He does get traded out as well. Trade after trade after trade. Great divide and conquer approach here for Rix. They push on both fronts and find the picks necessary to get back towards the B site, defuse the spike, and now once again they're doing it. Almost I think we're at a flawless half here for them. It's been one heck of a ride to get back here.
Who's been the most impressive for you? Like, if you're like, because obviously this Rix GG roster is new to everybody in regards to the roster in its entirety. What play is standing up for you?
On Rix or in general in this matchup?
I think for Rix, like, not to take anything away from Craig Schleiden, but I am curious of what you think of this latest roster, because this is a signed dog after all.
You know, I'm kind of overdosed on Jets, North America. Like, I don't really, as much as Luzza is supposed to be kind of this big piece for this team, I think I've been keeping a closer eye on RCK and how he's positioned, and especially with the most recent tournament that you and I had the pleasure of casting, the Nerd Street Gamers Winter Championship. I've been trying to have a little bit of a deeper appreciation for Sova players, Just been trying to keep an eye on them, see how they play. And Glenn, opposite to RCK, has also been having a pretty great game.
Two very different play styles of Sova, right? And a bit of an opening, actually. I thought this was going to be an eco, but Craig Schleiden doing well to at least afford up some guns. YNS with the Vandal is the first to get a frag onto Otom, who's done a relatively good job of holding onto Cubby, but now all of mids seems very difficult to control from Rix at this point. They are giving a lot of space up, and the Rikanda is going to show the rough position of Latex, but AZK, yet again, using his team almost as bait to find some of these engagements and to pick them off one by one. It is forcing Craig Schleiden away from the top of mid, so maybe going over from an A-shot execute, but there's an op waiting for them, and Luzza hasn't missed that many shots from it.
Well,
other than that,
that's what the caster's curse is for. He's going to get overwhelmed, be pushed back. 2 missed shots, but of course this spike is being planted. Even Latex can't find the value there. Or Ines still being chased down, still has time to plant, still puts the turret up, still trying to get it down. The turret will not be the saving grace here for Craig Schleiden. That puts Rix GG at match point. That was a little bit of a chaotic round. It was close, but not close enough for Craig Schleiden, as we're now sitting in the hands of Rix GG's victory.
Match point on the horizon, and because these buys have been chipping away at the economy of Craig Schleiden, they are still able to, like, the fact that they're able to afford is staggering to me still, but they have got full loss bonus at this point. That's going to be evident, right?
Deploying drone.
The Eldron is going to have a lot of stock on it. Maybe not expecting the double stack, but it is going to force Luzza away from that angle. Autumn is still holding. Rikunda is going to open up this A side to play off of it. The Empress is going to make its way across, but Latex, nice positioning. Marty was not expecting him on that angle. Lozu, once he's had that sniper rifle in his hands, was good, but Sushi Killer, double updrafting over the top, catches him completely off guard. It's not going to matter. YNS, the last player alive. The hunt is going to be on. Rix GG from 9-3 down, win this one 13-9. Perfect defending half, and they go up to round 2.
I mean, you called it. That, as a newly formed roster, as be coming into the attack, not really exactly having the most ideal set strategies, or what, like you said, might work in practice, might not work in the actual game. And we saw that to a certain extent. And of course, Craig Schleiden just couldn't really make their own attack work. Rix GG had a solid impenetrable defense. In some cases, it was Luzza and Autumn. They were playing towards the A main side, and sometimes Luzza alongside RCK were doing a great job of defending the B site. It was just really difficult for, especially I'm assuming, having a Killjoy on the attack. It's just very difficult to translate that value, I'd imagine, for Craig Schleiden.
It was a very bumpy ride for Rix GG on their attack, though. There's plenty of stuff that can be worked on. The positive, I suppose, the silver lining, is they did get a lot of spikes planted. There were a lot of ways that they opened up a site. The execute seemed pretty strong in how they used utility, but it was after that we saw this Rix GG side fall flat a little bit. Luzza as well was great with the operator, but what is he like when he can't afford one? I think that's one of the biggest question marks around certainly North American sniper players, like the op players. And I think, we had the prime example of Mummy versus Shazam, to take a quick sidebar of Mummy was exceptional with the operator, the better jet opper in that role. But Shazam was a much more, I like the word complete jet player, with how he used various guns, his ultimate, and that was the difference in that matchup between the two, right? So I do think that whilst those are the good half, it was very much leaning towards having that operator and doing well there. But in regards to this, we are going to be following along for round 2 with Rick's GG. Then we might change up what games we're going to be broadcasting as we get to the later ends of this phase of the qualifiers. So with any luck, we'll be back after a short break. We'll let you know if any details change. For example, if teams don't want to be broadcasted, we can't force them, so we might have to change up our game. So there might be a couple of logistical things that we have to iron up because we are, starting this broadcast, so to speak, and following along with the tournament to the best of our ability. So keep this on in the background. There'll be some nice music playing, I'm sure. Just keep an eye on Twitch chat because we'll let you know if anything changes. But I imagine a 10 to 15 minute break is the longest that we'll be going for. But if that changes, we'll let you know. We're going to go for a break now, though. So go get a drink, go to the bathroom, do whatever, and we'll see you in a few. Take care. Welcome back to the Red Bull Home Ground qualifiers. We're still continuing on with Rick's GG as we saw them previously, but they have run into a very interesting matchup. They're going to be going up against Nerdtown Esports. To provide a little bit of context, they are a team in the DACH region, so that's the German, Austria, Switzerland kind of area. They played in the Level Global tournament in December and came second, losing in a best-of-3 fashion to Big. So it's a pretty good showing from them. They've had a couple of roster changes, and certainly when it comes to players to look out for, High Kitty on the Jet and Kevin on the Rays is going to be an interesting one. So having those double duelists face up against Luzza and Otom, who have been playing the Jet and Rays, is going to be an interesting one. But we are going to bind Simo. So what do you expect comp-wise that we might see differently here?
I mean, I'm kind of hoping that Rix sticks to the Phoenix. I've seen a lot of Phoenix success on bind, especially a player like from my region in North America, Sinatra, does a great job on bind. Sometimes you can see somebody like Kohler as well, depending on what team he's on and what he's allowed to play and what he's not allowed to play. The point being is I think that Autumn can find a lot of success. I mean, he found it on Ascent, a map that I don't think is normally Phoenix's best place to kind of have a little bit of fun. It's bind that I think he thrives a little bit better, especially with the closer angles. Or maybe we'll see something new from Autumn, and maybe we'll see something new from Kevin, like a Raise. That is something that works exceptionally well on bind. Hopefully that comes through. If not, I'd be very shocked to see it not come through for either team.
For sure. Thank you all for joining in as well, because this is on a Twitch channel that I don't really use all that much. It can be quite difficult to let people know that this is going on. So be sure to tell people. If people are asking if there's streams of qualifiers, let us know. But also when it comes to other language streams, Defuse GG, the French community, the team as well, broadcasting some of the other qualifiers. So if you want to keep an eye on what they're doing, some of the other games that are happening, do check them out. It's not a competition. We're all here to broadcast this tournament. But if you want to follow along for the English-speaking and English roster of Rick's GG, at least the org players, some of them are Nordic, you can continue. But it is a typical, if you look at it this way, a typical England versus Germany matchup as if it was football with high Nerdtown Esports. Euro is banned out, we've had in whilst the Big Fizz is hovering over it to just make that one clear. But everything else is well in order. And Autumn is, again, like you're saying, playing the Phoenix, with Luzza, interestingly enough, moving over to the Rays.
Yeah, he made the comparison of High Kitty for Luzza in terms of the Jet v Jet battle, but we're not going to be seeing that this time around. We're also seeing a Brimstone come through for Latex. And you love to see that. That used to be, Bind used to be the map where I think Brimstone really got his name as this is his map, Similar to how you never see Sovas on Split, you'd always see Brimstones on Bind. It's just a great partnership with the Rays in order to clear so many angles that could be just very difficult to push through, especially on the B side, especially on the A side. Just clear things out, don't have to worry about them, and then you play off of that. So not having the Brimstone on the opposite side is going to be an interesting feat. We initially saw, I believe, a potential for graphics on the Reyna, potentially a triple duelist comp. They opt in for a little bit of safety, get a Sentinel into the mix.
I love seeing Latex on the Brim. It's bringing me back to the Fabrican days. And I gotta say, I think not only did Latex have a really good series that we just saw, but it's also nice to see him pop off. I think that everything that's happened to him since the fall of Fabrican has been just kind of sad. Skade certainly didn't go to plan. It was a roster that had limited amounts of success. And Latex, you always felt deserved better than that. So I'm glad that he is shining in this roster with great players around him, and seeing Rick's GG going into the Valorant Champions Tour should be super exciting. But this is a challenge. Natal might not be a team that you recognize, but they are a team that's very good at going up against Giants and quelling them. On this attack, Ricks are going to be caught out straight away from High Kitty with the Frenzy. And considering the 3 rounds that they got on the attacking side of the Simo, I'm not too convinced.
Portal play will come through, and they might just wrap around, especially considering so many of those shots came from the shower side. I like this move from Nerdtown. They're trying to cut those players off. Yeah, you can go plant the spike, but you got to win those duels if you're going to be challenging them. Vince not going to win that one out. High Kitty does see a couple of players, so at least they know that they can kind of split them up. That's what they've got going for them, but they don't exactly know where they are. They just know that there was portal action, and they know that there was players towards shower, so now it's going to be kind of a guessing game and a waiting game to see when those players are going to come through.
Well, this is a big problem with your
30
graphics,
seconds left.
not expecting these players to be in behind you. RCK. It's whether now they check to the right and see the Cypher. Latex does. He wins that engagement, chipping away at him with a classic. And another post plant coming in from Ricks. 4 versus 3. But you'll look at the health that Luzza and Fry both have. It's almost like a 3 versus 3 in itself, really.
This has been an incredibly weird setup for Ricks, but Kevin's going to find one to kind of dwindle those odds. Luzza's waiting, of course, in the 50. Big Fizz now just trying to move forward. Classic's going to take down RCK down to the 2v2 once more, and High Kitty going to try it again one more time, and they'll pinch them in on both sides and find that defuse. But this started off, I think, a round that was very salvageable for Ricks. Yeah, the A hit didn't quite work out. He lost the member quite quickly. And of course, the team split up, kind of went their own way. I think there was a huge opportunity. It could really have gone either way, I think, on both fronts.
Yeah, it's a real shame considering I like the strategy that Ricks had. So with Fry being such low health, he used himself as bait on this corner of like B lobby that could be right near the teleporter. He died, and in that spot was Luzza also hiding, so they weren't expecting 2 players to be in that position. It's an easy frag for Luzza to get. He gets 2 overall, but ultimately the damage was not done. Another defuse going against Rick's GG. It's a loss condition that seems to be much more common than they're hoping for at this point. Graphics holding in, the boombot is not going to catch him. The tripwire is going to give up his position. I like this too, with the cyber cage being able to give up a lot of information, but he has revealed where he is, but nobody necessarily checking the angle. Luzza with a stinger with the force buy is good enough to at least do stuff, but
Last player standing.
blast pack is a little bit too much of a stretch. And Fry can't get much done. Second round on the board for Nerdtown, and I would imagine, considering there was a bit of a bite from Ricks, an eco now necessary.
I know it's so simple, but anytime I see a Raze from A side throw paint shells into the portal and it finds a player in hookah, I just always think back to one of the first competitive experiences in Valorant when the loaded GG streamers faced off against the devs. And it was on Bind that the devs had some pretty spicy lineups with Raze and Sova, and one of those lineups was just throwing a paint shell through the portal and you know, finding picks. Love thinking back to the beta days, as Luzza's going to be thinking back to how he could have won that gunfight against Graphics. A good early engagement goes his way, and so far Nerdtown sitting pretty, but they've got to fight through this push on towards the B side, but the spike's nowhere near, because now the players are going to start to pull off due to that action. There is a moving force coming in down A short.
Oh, and when both players are moving like that, the battle is always going to win out with the bigger gun. Latex again with the Sheriff is at least making some space. They might not expect him to be so close within that smoke at this point. Kevin is trying to flank around. He catches the Brimstone. Now Fry, lurking within the smoke, is going to give up his position, trying to take the fight onto the high ground with High Kitty. And he's the one that wins the duel. Not a great stat from Ricks, but let's be honest, they had a worse one up against Crash Schlieden, and it turned out for the best once they got to the defending side. But you still think as well, you're very early on in this tournament, you shouldn't be struggling as much as you are in some of these scenarios. But then again, we've had 2 moderate to low buys coming through from Ricks. So this round is, again, pivotal.
Got the showstopper available. One orb is all Autumn needs, and I would have loved to see some showers control to try to get that running back and maybe use it to really overthrow this round, but they'll let Autumn just farm those by farming players instead of farming orbs. And this hookah push has been, at least for one round, kind of thwarted by graphics. He's been able to do quite a lot of work delaying them, and he's not in hookah this time. He's playing towards the elbow, but I'd imagine he's going to be kind of in and out, and Ricks have to be honestly spending a lot of utility to clear out the hookah every time they want to push through it. So I think at least for some of these initial starts to the round, Nerdtown have a great opportunity to at least kind of get some of that utility out early on, but iKitty's not going to win those.
He almost did. Really shouldn't have, never should have, but that's an awkward one for Autumn. He tries to flush out the smoke, but the smoke dissipated the worst time. Orbital Strike creating some space, and the Molotov has flushed out graphics from a smoke the Cyber Kid was trying to hide in. Now Luzza with the Showstopper, using it more to create space to see if it can get people away. It does a moderate of damage to Vince, not really too much to concern him. But the spike has been planted. We're in a 3 versus 2, and yet another post plant. The Ricks.GG, I think, really have to win at this point.
Shock Dart, not sure what, maybe looking for a player that was playing close onto Spike, trying to do some chip damage, but now, of course, here comes the good old-fashioned standoff. Kevin knows where they are. Spray not really going to connect, and, you know, despite winning, Ricks did lose a lot of members. 2 will remain, and I think for Nerdtown economy, it's not in the greatest spot, but an op will still come in for High Kitty, and it's unfortunately graphics that's probably going to have to play close contact towards the hookah side, or well, she's going to play towards the A side, and that's going to be in support of Kevin and Vince here, who really still have been able to buy up. So this round, not super pivotal for Nerdtown, but you lose this one, you pretty much give Ricks the opportunity to come back 3-3. They don't think they want to be in a position for that to happen.
And the issue with that last round is that Ricks used 2 big ultimates. Showstopper, Orbital Strike both being used. Now the Hunter's Fury is going to add to that list, and it does try to catch on to as many targets as it can, and it hits Big Fist for the second time. Vince playing off the site, did well to get that first kill onto Lazu, who had made his way into hookah. Vince knows that Autumn is playing on site. He is swarmed in various positions, and it's a nice engagement one from Autumn with the help of his team. Now Graphics with the Null Theft has managed to slip in behind via the teleporter. Autumn is 11 HP now, so he needs to take this engagement carefully, but it's a nice wallbang. Smart stuff from Graphics on the Cypher. Spike not gone down just yet, as it's all been a ruse over to A, but a 3 versus 3 as it goes down.
Recon bolt also towards the defender spawn. I think it does get taken care of, and now High Kitty is unfortunately forced to wait for the smoke to clear, and I don't think he's got a lot of time to do so. Great setup here as well, coming in for Frey. But will it matter, though? A couple of trades come through. It's just down to one final player playing towards Lamps, and he's playing an aggressive angle. The blades, they don't quite connect down to just Frey, and the spray is going to be crispy clean. The clutch coming in for Frey will put Ricks up around. And now, of course, with the eco here for Nerdtown, it'll likely be the bounce back to tie us up.
The smart stuff from him. Just to play from that position, completely caught Kevin off guard. And that duel with High Kitty with the Blade Storm out could have really gone either way, but it does force a save round from Nerdtown. A Showstopper could be a way for Kevin to maybe break through to get a frag to pick up a gun very early on, considering you've got this mid-push happening very quickly from Nerdtown. It could potentially be the plan, but they're going to go scout ahead, see what they can catch out. But even the fact that nobody's here gives them a good indication to stack maybe on B at this point. But they haven't really had a look over at what's happening on showers. So Ricks GG smart here with how patient they're playing, looking to catch out aggressive plays like iKitty has here.
Well, this was supposed to be the bounce back, but so far it's been a phenomenal start for Nerdtown. And we've seen a quite interesting play around this A site for Nerdtown. A couple of pushes through showers, and this is one of the first times I've seen such an aggressive look down A short. And really holding an aggressive angle in market. You don't get to see that a lot due to just how much control the default has over something like that. And Kevin's going to find an answer back, at least or at least another frag in his pocket. Frey will be able to take him down after that showstopper does find its mark. Down to the 4v3 now. They're starting to push in. The Vandal here for High Kitty. He's still alive. The updraft over. Frey's going to wonder, did my sprays connect? Is he still there? Psych! That's the wrong number. 3K on the round for High Kitty. He's going to be able to make Frey pay for that reload. But here comes Luzza. He's got the op. Doesn't have, has the blast packs available, but here comes the smoke to smoke him off. Still has to push in to grab the spike, but now he's getting ready for a blast pack play. And it's the thrifty for Vince. What a round here for Nerdtown, starting off with High Kitty's aggressive push-up A short.
Oh, the blast pack hopping. I didn't want to be on Lazu's wild ride there for a second, jumping through a smoke. If he got that shot, that would have been nuts, but the likeliness was pretty small, and the operator now traded over into the hands of High Kitty with a very good round. They set up the play from a thrifty, and that's not a round you want to lose if you're Rick's GG. Autumn caught completely off guard. But smart play to use the showstopper to get another frag, to make sure that High Kitty was in a powerful position with the only gun that they had available, the only rifle. Now Rick's a couple of ultimates of their own. They've had to rely on their ultimates quite a lot in this series so far. Autumn with the run it back. Potentially going to do it through the smoke. But he's got a hero gun available, and he goes down to the big fizz, I think through the smoke. Or just on the side of it, he tried to flank out.
Yeah, it was a little bit difficult to see, but of course this is going frag after frag into the hands of Nerdtown, and you know the economy is not looking and feeling so great. At least you know the dink comes in. It's just not enough to find Kevin. Just down to RCK while we have a moment. You know, I think for Ricks, the B side hit has been working quite well. It's just been difficult, especially with not playing the defaults as often as I would have loved them to play. Like, you know, just trying to feel out this aggression that comes out early from A side for Nerdtown, whether it's showers, whether it's A short, set up a default, but have the majority of your push focused on the B hit. And then just play post plant. It does seem like it's been having a lot of success on the B side. Nerdtown playing in some cases passively on the B side as well. So I think there's an opportunity there, but they gotta snuff out these early aggressive looks from Nerdtown on the A site. They gotta try to do something.
Defense is straightforward for Nerdtown. They've been able to proactively shut stuff down before it goes into a post plant. It's only been really the only round that Nerdtown have won has only been that pistol from the post plant. So it's at least been better stuff from Rick's GG in that department, but now they're struggling to even get the spike planted. I like this split from Nerdtown. The aggressive up over on B. Look at those two players over in A showers at the same time, making sure that they're working the extremities. The Eldron is going to give up High Kitty's position. He's not afraid to move away from that angle, but it might provide an opening for Rick's GG to push through hookah. In fact, the run it back is going to be dedicated, breaks up a tripwire and gets destroyed very early on within its lifespan. Just Rick's GG trying to break through the site, and High Kitty hiding within the smoke of the cyber cage with the op could line up Luzza here.
Oh, almost gets the collateral there. Graphics still alive. It's trade after trade. RCK wins probably the most important duel of the round, swinging onto Graphics down to the 3v2. Still a doable round for Nerdtown, but it's going to be difficult. Looking at Kevin flanking from the opposite side as Vince is just trying to stall for time. The spike's moving towards Vince. They haven't decided to plan it for B. They want to flush him out, but now that's given enough time for Kevin to stall them off with the paint shells. He's in a great spot, has the ult orb here if he wants to take it. Doesn't want to give audio cues away for his position quite yet. 30 seconds left. Vince still playing towards the A site, anticipating some sort of hit. But now as the spike's being planted, he's going to have to join Kevin on the opposite side. Decides to go through the portal. Recon Bolt is available. Shows Hunter's Fury as well. Is RCK just deciding where does he want to get that? Where does he want to plant it through? The shock dart's going to be crucial. Will that player swing? They will not. Another one will seal the fate onto him. That's now the 2v2. Recon Bolt up above. It will tag away Kevin. They know where the player is. The angle will work there for Frey, but it's Vince that answers back down to 30 HP. But they're both low, and the spike's ticking. But you don't need to worry about that. Frey will be taken down. Vince spots Cypher without the hat and tip his hat to Nerdtown as they win another round, up by 4 over Ricks.
Really good play from Vince. The shock darts to get that kill onto Luzza in the corner completely takes him out of the engagement, but also the information he was able to get with the recon dart, even very late on in that clutch against Fry, knowing where he was roughly going to be stood, jumping on top of the tube, winning that fight. What a strong clutch from him, but another round that Rick's GG has failed to put away within the post plant. It's been really difficult for them. They have a Hunter's Fury, but not really enough money to buy a Pierce or looking to save it. Nerdtown, yet again, embarrassing Rick's GG's attacking side, much like we saw beforehand.
Revealing area. Enemy down.
I mean, we'll see if they're able to answer back, but so far, especially with that opening pick, don't think it's going to be this round. Still a possibility. Orbital Strike available. Hunter's Fury still was kind of held off from that prior round, and we've seen some teams dedicate the damage ultimates towards, you know, trying to secure an eco round, because that's really all they have to work with. But, you know, a little bit passive play on towards the A site, giving Ricks the opportunity to play aggressively or push up through short or try to get a little ground in showers. They won't. Just wrap around from long towards Hookah. Nope, there's a smoke. Gotta push through that, and will he have enough time? Yeah, he will. I don't know if he'll spot anybody.
Does not going to show Big Fizz's position as he backs up against the wall. It's not going to see it. The position's good enough, but again, this utility coming through isn't good enough to stop RCK taken out from the operator in a flawless round. Even the way that Nerdtown are playing now as these executes are starting to come in is such a good read on what Rix is trying to do. The recon darts being able to maneuver around them, find various positions. It's so tough for Rix to clear all of these angles. Now they have a full buy again coming in. Luzza with the Raze operator, one away from having a showstopper, is going to be playing towards B long as NT are going to be putting a bit more aggression over there with the operator looking towards Hookah. More of a default headed towards A, an area that Rix haven't really been able to break through as much.
Hopefully, finally, some aggression will give them that space that they need. Roomba's gonna spot at least one player out, and Frey's a little bit afraid now to push forward, but Autumn is there on the opposite side in A short, so is Luzza. But with the spike position towards B short, feels like they might be just trying to out-rotate them, trying to get them to pull off of the B side so that they could eventually hit it. That might be the ticket there, but now, of course, as Autumn starts to push forward, and of course the players coming in from the shower side, Orbital Strike will be used to clear out lamps. There was a little spot in the corner that I think maybe the player missed, but Latex with 2 as he pushes through the showers, finds 2 picks backside. That is huge for Rix. Spike down now, but the Big Fizz with the TP can't convert onto a second to really nullify the early frags. Still down to 2 players here. The Blades come through for High Kitty. So far, not going to find its mark quite yet. Tailwind in, and he skips right over Frey. Hasn't checked the corner. Right on the bench. He's going to find the headshot, and this is likely just the round here for Rix. But it really was just Latex pushing through showers, finds 2 picks back sight, and Nerdtown struggled to convert onto anything.
And that's really what you want to see from this team as well. It's 2 kills at Latex. He's only got 3 total so far, so that aggression on the Brimstone not quite being up to standard, and you really need to be able to sort of play it in that fashion on a map like this. It's cruel to compare him to Angel, considering that Angel ended up sort of being part of the team that Fabrican ended up becoming. But that's one of the things that Angel was so good at on the Brimstone, is just finding his own challenges, but Luzza does exactly that with the aggressive off. Graphics, though, it's a nice flank and a crisp headshot to shut down Luzza's operator for now. At this point, Nerdtown are expecting more players in shower. The recon dart is killed instantly. Is Fry leading the line, making sure they can have this all orb picked up by Autumn on the Phoenix. Another nice peek coming out of Kevin. Nerdtown can certainly nail these shots when in these less than advantageous positions. Autumn's scared enough that he's going to use the hot hands to stop that coming through. But now the running back is dedicated. Latex gets another 2 kills, and this is opened up for Rix.
It was started out quite well. But now, of course, the Big Fizz, he's all alone. There's going to be the curveball. Still alive, though, but there's a player swinging out from Tetris. The rest of the players still in and around the spike areas. It's just down to graphics. And this round started out quite well for Nerdtown, and of course, doesn't end quite well for Nerdtown. And I wanted to say the peak towards Showers partnered with the Shock Dart. I wish more teams in NA did that. Swing with utility. It's something that players are trying to avoid. They're not in a position to hold an angle, right?
Yeah.
Of course, you have to try to understand where they might be positioned to line up, like let's say that Shock Dart. But I loved that execution. Of course, Nerdtown don't win the round, but I love the way that that was executed.
Eyes up.
One more round left of this half. Rick's at least doing a little bit better on this attacking side than they did in their previous game on Ascent. But not by much. 7-5 would not be a bad way to end this half. But Nerdtown will still retain and control that lead. Ultimates on both sides, 2 showstoppers either way for both Kevin and Loza. It's whoever can get the most impact, but you gotta hand it to Graphics' bravery here, playing within Hookah. He's gonna be forced away from this angle just a little bit from a hot hands on Autumn. They're just gonna scout out to see if there's any other players in sand with the Eldron. They're gonna find some information. Graphics pushing ahead. They could have lined up very well there, but Autumn does trade out at least. Be execute again on the cards for Ricks.
Ooh, Autumn down to 1 HP. Yep, the Blaze Wall is going to go up. It's only going to get him up to 70 or so, so likely not going to be the full thing. So that's why the Shock Dart is going to easily find him down to the 4v3. And in some of these rounds, it's looked good for Nerdtown initially, but somehow Ricks find great opening picks, great value on their conversions. And yeah, it's just like one after another. Boom, it was the advantage. And it gets taken away just like that. 2v3 now. Vince in the elbow and Kevin. Seems like they're always the last 2 remaining.
Vince has a nice little angle, sees the rough body, and the wallbang is good enough at least to take on ICK. He gets a third. Now the spike is not looking to get planted. The showstopper is going to be used because why not at this point? They can stop Latex from confirming that spike going down. It doesn't matter too much as Kevin gets a kill. What a great half from Vince. He's a new player on this roster and so strong. We've seen some really good Silver play today against Rick's GG specifically. But what a way to end that half from him. Just a patient play to wait for the clutch. Sees the spike getting put down with so little time left on the clock. He picks the engagement and even getting this kill onto Fry with the snap. So good. Expects that kind of peak coming in. And it shows an 8-4 half for Nerdtown as they go to the attacking side. Bear in mind, Rick's defense was flawless. We'll have to see how they do here.
Yeah, this is where I think they might shape up a little bit better. At least that's what we saw in Ascent. Bind might be the same story here. You love to see that play from Vince, but now it's a new half. Speaking of Vince, or rather his counterpart RCK gets a little bit of aggressive ground towards Showers. On the opposite side, it's a tug and pull, and Frey is pulling Nerdtown along. Finds 2 easy picks on the swing. That'll be value on the money there. Graphics and the rest of his team now thinking about this A site, but there's members from Rick's GG that are slowly starting to move back towards this site.
Interesting paint shell just to create a bit of space towards the back of Lamps, but RCK is holding his ground. His aim with the classic not quite landed up to par, but he still gets some damage in onto Graphics, enough for Latex to confirm the kill with a headshot. It's split apart bit by bit, much better from the Brimstone so far, but Kevin, 100 health, no utility, forced into an engagement with a relatively low health Autumn, healed himself up prior after taking so much damage. And the 100% win rate on the defended side for Ricks continues into this game too.
Well, depends on the next round and the round following, of course. The force up, don't think it's going to come through for Nerdtown. Maybe frenzies, some ghosts, some shorties. We'll see what happens, but Nerdtown, if it does get to 8-6, which likely it will, have a couple of rounds that they could bleed, but you know the gap is much smaller than what we had originally seen in that first map.
No force up. Like Kitty is still going to be holding W to sort of take this space, and with the help of the recon dart from Vince even, have a little bit more freedom. And they've scared off Rix a little bit, to be fair. Latex is not wanting to play off this angle, play somewhere a bit safer. Executor's going to come in with the paint shells, and the smoke is well timed, but it's more of a bait away to go into A. But Autumn is already there with Luzza waiting for this push to come in, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise from him. The issue is he has a judge, and from distance, with a lot of players coming from showers, it's not going to be that useful. But luckily, with the Spectre, Luzza is able to pull up a few more kills. There's the triple, just one more alive with Kevin, and the paint shell from distance, the Kobe.
Wow.
Absolutely takes it into a nice, clean 4K for him.
That was a fadeaway jumper from Luzza. Didn't even try to bounce it off anything. Let's have a look at this replay here. As of course the push comes in, Autumn has really dealt with the tall task of finding the counter value there with the judge. First pick comes easy as he's a little bit unaware. Sees two there, and they just work so well together. This Luzza and Autumn duelist combination. And now the force up comes in for Nerdtown. This is the round they need to convert on, or Rix is slowly going to start laying on those rounds. We saw that inevitable end come in on Ascent. That happened here as well.
Also waiting on this angle is going to be a little bit sort of cleaner in this corner. That's a nice flick though from Kevin. I was expecting a little movement to sort of take him away and maybe surprise Kevin in that position. Not check the corner as deeply as he should do, but no. Absolutely demolishes both Luzza and Autumn on that site. This post plant is going to be tough, but the Eldron is going to scatter what information it can, check some of these close corners to see if Nerdtown are trying to bamboozle them. But a lot of this control is going to be in lamps, or just in front of it. This is going to be a tough ask as Fry is forced into lamps from the recon dart. And look at all of that utility just absolutely rinsing through.
Last player standing.
Down to RCK. Okay. All right. He's just going to find that one and get that upgrade. He's done his damage. But will he survive? No, he will not. Well, at least he doesn't get that loss, that win or that loss bonus deduction. He was hoping to carry that through. So the conversion goes as expected, not the flawless defense anymore for Rix. And what that means for us is a potentially competitive half. Nerdtown up by 3. Potential here to convert onto the 10th. And of course, on the opposite side, it does have potential as well. 4 players so close to their ultimate. So you can imagine that's going to come through relatively soon. 5 out of 6, 5 out of 7, 5 out of 7. They look at orb control, which they have been towards the B site, especially for Autumn. You could expect to see something like that come through in rounds ahead. Oh,
no.
As I say that, they try to get the greedy orb on both sides. They got one, but they paid the price for 2.
They just didn't have a read on the aggressiveness that Nerdtown wanted to play on. They weren't expecting them to push up that far so quickly, but clearly they read it wrong. Fry now is good to be holding onto this site for dear life. Latex is going to be helping coming through the back of the defender spawn. Now playing on site alongside Fry, just in this spot. It's just about keeping their attention. You got Autumn that's pushed down A, so he knows that this isn't going to be a bit of a bait, but he really needs to be there. He is one of the 3 players left alive for Rix. And this contact play from Nerdtown might surprise exactly where they're playing from. Fry gets 2. He keeps Rix within the game. He gets a 3. He gets a 4. That is incredible from Fry.
And I didn't feel anything.
Wow.
What on earth was that? That was just, he had no right to win those engagements. The connections he made, one-man army, saved Rix GG that round.
Yeah, that deserves a replay. Thank you very much. It started off great for Nerdtown. They found that 2-pick conversion for those players farming the orbs, but then Fry, man, sometimes Cypher anchors just become a league of their own. They just millisecond 1v1s. He didn't even have, like, he had time to kind of have these individual fights, but they were so okay. That's greedy. Come on, Latex. Come on, you know better than that. They do not have
Yeah.
the read on these orbs at all.
Deleted. Cage triggered.
Ooh, and the Sheriff as well is good from graphics to get the kill onto RCK. I'll see if I can fit this tidbit in early. In the one game that we've seen so far, the best of one for Nerdtown, High Kitty had an ACS of 420. He had 420. 22 kills in a 14 round game. Nuts.
No more charges
And
left.
he starts off well for Nerdtown. As more damage is done to them with Eco at this point. Yet again, Ricks have been caught out by these buys beforehand so far. Damage enough done. I think a lot comes down to that run it back out to use from Autumn and how he holds onto this A site. See if he can play up to the level that we just saw from Frey or Fry. I feel no matter what, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong.
I guess you could say that High Kitty set team ablaze. And of course, Autumn's going to do just the same here. Vince with one. Hot Hand's going to make the big fizz. Feel that pain. Feel that fire. Still the 2v2. Here's the curveball. Of course, they have something to relatively answer back. But of course, there's going to be the portal play for Vince. He does have a Hunter's Fury, so he can play from range. But he is in a lot of trouble. He doesn't have a lot of time. Rick's members are starting to funnel in from the defender spawn. They are not waiting. They know he's injured. They know he's low. He's just going to try to escape and run away. He's not going to be able to do so. Ricks will now trail by 1 in a closely contended second half.
They've done well to turn it around considering how that round started. We're now starting to see what I wanted to see from Ricks, right? Like, this is a really good roster full of individual players, but that doesn't inherently mean that you have a strong roster. That roster needs to play together. It needs the chance to fulfill its role on a team, which is always going to be difficult for somebody like Frey, who has played Raze and stuff in the past. I think Sentinel is a relatively new role to him. I could be wrong. He might have played that in the past, but not only are we seeing this team come together when it comes to the executes, the retakes, the utility, but we're also getting those shining moments. And that's super exciting to see. Nerdtown is a really good team as well. They can certainly pinch this one away, deservedly so. And I'm glad that we have a game on our hands so early in this tournament. Shows the breadth of talent within Europe. Easily.
So finally, we're seeing a little bit of development from Ricks. They've got all their ultimates. No need to farm the orbs now. How are you going to use them is my question. Oh, the spray. It's going to do some chip damage, but you better watch yourself before you wreck yourself. That's, of course, going to be the frag that comes in for Kevin through the cyber cage. Now it's down to the 5v4, but you know how many rounds we've seen where Nerdtown have a man advantage and then lose? I think too many I can count.
Holding on to this corner now is just I'm not really sure the plan necessarily from Nerdtown at this point. Seemingly clear now as they're trying to sort of bait across. It's whether this rotation follows. The spike is over on B. You got this lurk coming through as well
30 seconds left.
from graphics. Lussa wins that engagement at least. But now look at this. Fry's been able to hold this angle. Hasn't quite spotted players, but is in a similar position to the ace that we just saw. Lurking in that spot. Doesn't even get one in that scenario as Vince manages to clear him through. Showstopper now coming from CT. Fired out instantly. It does get onto Vince. Potential wallbang operator shot there would have been very passionate. It would have been something exceptional, but not quite connecting. Nor is this Hunter's Fury up until the last second, where it not only kills High Kitty, but it shows the position of the Big Fizz. Another really good retake from Ricks, but honestly, a bit lucky they had their ultimates there. Yet again, over-reliance on it maybe.
Man, going from Diva and Roadhog to the Sova. That is something truly exceptional. That is an angle you don't normally get to see too often. Trying to find some value from Hookah into Octagon. That is very, very spicy. RCK has definitely had a couple of impressive moments. But really, this match has belonged to Frey. Holding down, being an incredible anchor for Ricks. But we're tied up 9-9, and it's the eco for Nerdtown. So this is a potential here for Ricks to bounce back. But considering Nerdtown have really despite finding early picks on ecos and gun rounds, they haven't really found a lot of success. It's just great answers back for Rix. I expect nothing but the same for the round ahead. Frey with one, Autumn with another, and we're moving along quite nicely.
You can tell that these guys are from Counter-Strike with how they play with the
Player
AWP.
standing.
Just that traditional flick. And with that, Rix GG retake the lead from being down on their attacking half. Their defending half is not quite as perfect as it was in round 1, but near enough. 3 retakes, 3 kills pre-plant to get these 6 rounds so far for them. And a 4-buy. Nerdtown 4 Ultimates have plenty to work with. This is a great way to turn around your fortune and to tie us up yet again on score. But this double operator, I haven't seen double op comps in a while, Simo.
Yeah, ever since the nerfs, ever since the good old days, and iKitty's not going to be feeling those good old days as he finds nothing but death. But there's an op looking still in on the opposite side. Autumn's going to find the showstopper, and that is an important pick to take down. Unfortunately, though, that double op will eventually fall. All kingdoms must come to an end, and it does look like this is the end for Rix.GG. Still the 3v2, still very doable. Those expensive ops are gone. Now the 2v2, here comes the Hunter's Fury, and it doesn't look like it's going to tag anybody quite yet. But Brimstone is injured, so he's in a little bit of trouble. But Frey in a great spot. Recon Bolt not going to spot him out, and he's got a lot of ground here. The smoke's now, of course, going down. There's going to be the tag, but Frey does not care, knows where the last player is. Now it's just down to the 2v1. The Big Fizz man has to make sure that he can hold these angles correctly, but he's got to play cat and mouse. The spike's in a good spot, but unfortunately, Molly is not in a good spot, but Lake Tex finds it nonetheless. And Rix will move up to 11-9.
Just in the nick of time. Some questionable moves there, I think, from Rix in the end. They used the neural theft when they knew roughly where the Omen was playing from. They knew where the Big Fizz was within lamps, and maybe they used the neural theft to try and force him out in an engagement, but he played it patiently. The Molly lineup from Latex doesn't quite catch him where it needs to go, unfortunately. Stops him from going for the teleport, for example, or trying to escape in whatever sense, but they get the kill. And another successful defending round that Rix can add to their collection after Nerdtown used a good bunch of ultimates. Can still buy up half armor in some cases. But if we see Rix GG going to match point here with the help of that operator kill from Autumn, the next buy up from Nerdtown is not going to be a good one. Must win for them this round.
High Kitty out of commission is definitely going to make things a little bit more difficult. RCK pushing graphics back and away from the shower side, so they know where a lot of membership can tend to stack, and this Boombot's going to help out with hopefully finding some of that out. But unfortunately, it doesn't quite go towards A short. We're just looking at, of course, push in now here from Nerdtown, and it's been B quite consistently, and Rix have done a great job of holding things down here. In really participation from Frey, but here is Latex as well. Graphics playing the 50, and Hookah's going to easily scoop up, it's Frey playing in Hookah, easily going to be picking up graphics now. Of course, down to just to push through, and shots to the smoke. They're going to run away, grab that spike, and of course, there's 3 members stacked here. It's not looking good for Nerdtown.
RCK knows now where the Big Fizz is as he goes down, gets traded out very early on. The operator is watching it keenly. This double op has been working out super well from Rix.GG, but from the Shadows used to plant over on B. Fry wasn't too far away. The spike has been faked, and ultimately not really enough, as both Fry and Latex were there to pincer him to shut it down. Great rounds from them so far, and they're on match point to take themselves into the 3rd round. Like I mentioned before, the buy from Nerdtown is not going to be good or strong in this one. There's a great chance for them to sort of keep continuing on within this tournament. Nerdtown, there's no second chances here. They've got to make what they have work. And no ultimates already coming online either. So have to win some of these duels, be proactive in their approach. But that's been so difficult when Rick seemed to have your number across this defending half.
My ult's not ready. Take flight.
Well, when it starts like that, Definitely doesn't feel good. Luzza with the op frag, and of course the running back was used to try to get some of that early ground as well. Down to the 4v5.
Get out of my way.
They were looking for the Blade Storm as High Kitty stuck with the Marshall. Of course, the economy we knew wasn't going to be great moving into this one. RCK gonna be pushing up through showers, has a lot of ground here covered. But they don't really have a lot of solid control here of A short. But that's now where the spike is going to be headed. RCK in a good spot, does decide to leave that area alone for a little while. As Nerdtown are preparing for a quick and fast hit. Boombot comes through. What's going on in showers? So far, nothing. Here comes the Recon Bolt. They know that they're going to start to push through. They're going to try to answer back with a Recon Bolt of their own. There are the Blades. The headshot's going to be good for RCK, and they're still just trying to play cat and mouse. Shots are going to be good from Luzza. Down to 2 final players here for Nerdtown. That's 3 for Luzza now. Does he got more in the tank? No, because it's stolen away from RCK, and Rix will send Nerdtown away 13-9 on Bind.
And another round that goes the way of Rick's GG, going behind after their attacking half, which was certainly subpar, a little bit better than round 1, but still not really up to the level that we should be expecting from them. You've dissolved as if you're like from the Infinity War endgame there. You don't feel so good, Simo, but we do get a bit of quick look at the scoreboard to see exactly where that went down. You got to say, good performances from Luzza, Autumn on that double duelist. Fry, whilst he did get the ace, which was exceptional, I saw people like Mystic, for example, from Summon FC, point out what I've been thinking since watching this. Fry is too good to maybe be played on the Sentinel role. I don't know whether you necessarily agree on that, but considering how impactful he's been on stuff like Raze and stuff, it's great to have that abundance of mechanical talent on your team, but still. Big ask from Rick's GG where they go from here, but we do know for sure that they will be going to round 3. The question now that I hand over to you, chat, and I will do my best for this one, is who do we go watch now? We could have potentially Wave Esports playing up against Isuba in the top bracket, which is certainly a game that I want to check out. Team Singularity lost to Quickmath 1-0. So the top seed of that group is out in the first round. It is best of 1, so I'm just having a look through the bracket now to see what happens. Single Esports is obviously one that I'm curious to keep an eye on. But other than that, it's hard to say where we sort of go from here. I think, honestly, we continue with Rick's GG in this fashion, perhaps because we've got Team Finest in here. We've got Don't Even Ask that have continued through, beating Visu. We'll let you know for certain. We'll go hunting for some particular games, but any closing thoughts on that series so far and a couple of games that we've seen yet, Simo?
I mean, so far from Rick's, I think it's pretty straightforward how we think and feel about this team. Quite well in the defense. A lot more work needs to come in on the attack. But I mean, like you said, it's the newly formed roster. You've got some good pieces, and I think you pointed out some things that they could work on or kind of switch around. I know that agent swaps can tend to hurt a team as opposed to build up a team up. So it really depends on how they feel after this tournament, but so far things are going good. They might face up some really difficult opponents, though, in the 3rd and 4th round. So hopefully they've got a little bit of time here to readjust and prepare for the upcoming matches.
For sure. Another one that could potentially come in is HSD versus either Zarplata or Unsigned, which is the roster with Honeybee from Purple Cobras, as well as Jesse, who's a pretty strong Sova within the region. They could potentially face up later on today against Gambit, One Breath Gaming, GMT. There's a lot of really good games going on at the moment, but like I said, Twitch chat, let us know if there's any particular series or matches that you want to check out, and we'll do our best to try and grab them and broadcast them, because we have, autonomy over which games can be broadcasted, but you can imagine it's very difficult to try and set up with everybody so far. But we'll see. Maybe we'll continue on with Rick's GG at this point. It's been a bit of a turbulent ride so far, but they've managed to win both their games out in this tournament. Now we go into the deeper parts of the day's qualifiers. A couple more matches to go before the end of the day. So we're going to go for a break, see what games we can find. We'll be back very shortly. See you soon. Welcome back to the Red Bull Home Ground qualifiers. We're on to round 3, and we're actually changing up the teams that we're looking at for this round at least. we're going to be moving over to check out a really nice matchup of Wave Esports versus Isuba. Two teams that have been flirting within the tier 2 scene of Valorant within Europe, but now we get to see them show off and have some of the best individual players within these teams, so it should be a good one. Joined by Simo, I don't think you know much about any of these teams, but to be fair, it's hard to when a lot of these games don't get broadcasted. But considering what you've seen so far, what stood out from you when it comes to like the esports scene and Valorant in Europe?
I really like the extremity play a little bit more than in North America. It seems like, at least, with the teams that we have here in this tournament, it kind of feels almost like a copy paste of what we have in the tier 2 scene in North America. But the tier 2 teams here in Europe play to the extremities very aggressively. Europe is a very aggressive region. And I think that ultimately does make it feel like that's the way that the game should be played. Yeah, sometimes there's stalls, sometimes there's defaults mid round. But overall, it's a very aggressive play style, and I like it because there's stuff to analyze. When a team just holds off on a push for a minute and then executes on 30 seconds every single round, that's not always the most engaging way to play, or it sometimes makes both teams kind of second guess what they're thinking. So I really like the aggressive play style. Makes for some very fun Valorant.
I guess the main interesting thing when it comes to Asuba is the Twiston, who I think is certainly one of the better individual players across Europe that isn't part of one of these, tier 1 organizations, is not part of this Asuba roster, which is interesting because there's been rumors that Twiston might move somewhere else, but Asuba is an org, so there would be an element of buyout there. He's been rumored to be going to Entropic, for example, so I find it very interesting that he's not part of this roster. He might just not be available, for example, but considering the caliber of tournament that this is, it's a big talking point when arguably your best player isn't part of your team for a tournament such as this. For Wave, it's near enough the same roster that we saw towards the end of last year. The last time that I saw these guys play was in the level regional clash where they lost out to Big in the semi-finals, again in very close best of 3 fashion. But that tournament didn't have Zik and Carcass within their roster as they're not from the DACH region, right? So this is a full functioning Wave Esports team. They've been doing a lot of good work within Valorant, but I think that even without Twiston in the roster, Asuba is still going to be a tall order. We're still waiting to try and get into game. The lobby is all set up. There's even player streams if you want to check out Mazzarini's perspective, for example. Both him and Bobby. So Mazzarini is Mazzarini, and then you got Bobby's stream, which is Bobbys. And so you can watch their perspective. It is in Czech, I think it is, because they're Czech Republican players. So if you want to see what their perspectives look like on Brimstone, which is the main one, because Mazzarini, even before these Brimstone buffs, was a Brimstone one trick, and you don't often see many of those. I think beforehand it was a pretty beefy detriment to him, right? Like being a Brimstone one trick isn't going to be very successful in a lot of different cases, as you can imagine, but especially now, do you think that being a Brimstone one trick is better than being an Omen one trick, Simo?
Despite some of the changes to Omen, I still think that there's value in what he can provide. I don't think he's completely down and out to the gutter. I think there's a lot of interesting things that you can do with him in terms of setting up audio cues with the teleport and into smokes, out of smokes. I still think he provides a lot of value. Just imagine having an agent that has the smokes and a flash, whereas Brimstone doesn't really provide that flash ability. I think Paranoia may be probably one of the top 5 strongest utility pieces in the game, and just being that in Omen's kit makes him a very solid smoke agent. Just have the ability to be as aggressive as you want, whereas Brimstone doesn't really have the greatest ability to reposition. He's got the stim beacon, which is like a great utility piece, and then the maul is. There's just a couple of pieces that I think are very situational for Brimstone.
For sure. Whilst we're sort of going in, we have a prediction if you want to try out the teams, whether that works or not. But we can go through the brackets to just sort of go through some of the changes, stuff that's happening. For example, the main one is that Team Singularity in the first round against Quick Math were knocked out. So that's probably the biggest surprise that we've seen so far. So that's the one that I'm certainly the most curious about of what happened there. especially, but we can't broadcast all the games. Gambit is continuing on. They will play GMT as they beat One Breath Gaming, which is a very interesting result. Unsigned are going to be played against HSD, and this is pretty much the old HSD roster, including Maniton, I think. Team Finest continuing on. If you want to check out that stream, I think DefuseGG, twitch.tv/DefuseGG, is broadcasting those games. They are in French, but if you want to see the finest stream, then you can check it out there. RixGG waiting still on their game against either Galacticos or some Turkish name that I don't even want to pronounce because I don't think I could actually do it justice to what it actually means or says. So yeah, we're still waiting to get into game. I think there's some technical issues and just solving some stuff out currently. So I just wondered, I guess, if you've enjoyed your day so far, Simo.
You know, I have woken up at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I'm a little bit, probably not the most well rested.
That's like 7 a.m. Like
I know,
GMT.
I know. I was up late last night preparing my D&D character. I'm starting a campaign with a buddy. He's going to be leading it, and so I was making my character. I decided that I was going to be a monk. I'm going to be a monk.
Oh.
And my race is I'm like kind of like I was born from gods and mortals. So I was pretty excited looking in the lore, looking into all this stuff, and I knew this was coming. I knew that it was going to be a late start or early start rather, and I still stayed up late looking at D&D stuff. Shame on me.
That's your own fault. It's worth adding both to those that are watching and I guess you guys as well. We got Bryce, who's our producer for this. It starts a little bit earlier tomorrow. It starts at midday GMT, not BST, GMT. I don't know why people are still scheduling like calls with me and stuff for BSC, which is a completely different time zone now. But in any case, we're going into this game again. This is a Suba without Twiston, which almost feels like Barcelona without Lionel Messi in some cases, I would say. This team is still good. Mazzarini, the Brimstone one trick, will be certainly finding a lot of impact with the new changes and also being on bind. Tribune is doing a similar thing. And Nico, who is typically a Sova player for this roster, is going to be on the Sky. And Muri, Nico's actually a Breach player, moving over to the Sky. And Muri, who is typically a Sova, over on the Rays. A very unconventional roster, to say the least, of agents on the side of Wave.
Honestly, the Asian compositions are just so gross for both sides. Just makes me kind of cringe, we've got double Killjoy on bind, and Killjoy is very difficult to make work on a map like bind and on a map like Haven, especially when we get to the attack. Like, what are you gonna do? Unless you're farming orbs for lockdown, you're not really gonna have a lot of easy success unless you got some nice lineups. We'll see if Zik and Patagod have got some nice lineups, but then you get the Breach and the Sky into the mix. Now, Breach, even if there's a map that he's not necessarily the most best suited on, he still provides just insane utility, right? Like, can never be denied for Breach. Despite, you know what? It feels a little like, what are you subbing out here? An extra duelist? I actually think that does provide a little bit more value than the utility that he brings. So that's something to think about, something to consider. On the opposite side, I'm a little bit happier with Waves comp. But Killjoy, man.
I mean, I think that was my biggest complaint from watching Isuba, who is Ispua in the top as well. But it's a team that has always done stuff like this. I think I've always rated Mazzarini very low in my eye tests because whilst I think playing Brimstone on certain maps is fine, playing Brimstone all the time up until now with these changes, I think has been a huge detriment for them going forward. Now they can make it work. Now it's certainly going to be a niche pick that could work into their advantage, but they are going to be defending first, trying to bait for a B execute. But Isuba already 4 players on the A site.
Yeah, this push in A short, at least is going to find one to start. Tribune on the opposite side is going to be pushing in. And now as they start to funnel in, the smokes are down, the classic Brimstone smokes. There's a little bit of a sliver that somebody can jump peek over the box, and round they go. The spike never left the B long side, and of course now it's just down to the Killjoy to stop them from pushing forward. The spike is going to be planted in the face of danger, but Patagod can't bring the danger to the opposing front because it's down to 3 players here for Isuba. Wave, with the ring around the Rosie, will find great success on the round, but still they've got to win this 3v5.
So good. Lifer, 13 HP, trying to clear the site as much as possible, but Wave have spread across the site from various angles that they're holding. Wave Carcass is the one to sort of clean it up. Nice post plant from Wave. The way that they position themselves in various angles made it very difficult for Isuba to actually check out where they are. Again, bear in mind that all of the games today will be best of ones. We'll be getting into the best of threes and the not traditional format at all. The specific format of the Red Bull Home Ground Tournament, the best of 5 system that they've got in place. We'll be at least trying it out a little tomorrow to see how that comes into play, explaining how all that works tomorrow. But for today, best of ones, and Wave have had the better start so far, buying up. And an eco from Isuba.
Well, you blink and you miss it. There's one that does at least get salvaged by Carcass, but it's really a whole slew of carcasses down in the shower getting sprayed off. Just down to 2 players. Here comes the bird. The pigeon blinds one. Does get traded. Still looking for more. It's Nico. Can he find another? Yes, he can. Down to the 1v1. And he's in a great spot. Can try to reposition here if you'd like. As the Spectre doesn't really have a whole lot of HP left. Does have the Trailblazer if he wants to use to scout things out early on. But I think Patagod's in a great spot. He can either rotate to B or A depending on what happens. And now this portal play is going to put Patagod in an even better spot because it doesn't really anticipate Patagod playing that close. But it's almost a little too close for comfort. The shorty does work out. And really the answer back on the pistol here for Isuba is great because this 3rd round conversion is going to hurt so much for Wave.
It's really broken the bank for Wave. It's always going to be tricky for them to sort of come back in this spot, but when you have a best of one like this, these 50 rounds that they can get just to sort of change the direction and trajectory of where things are going is going to be super pivotal. These are 2 very good squads that can certainly get to the higher levels of the tournament. I think Isuba lose a few brownie points, maybe without twisting, but it's still a team that's done relatively well in these open qualifiers, gone relatively far in First Strike as an example, but not to a meaningful level that we saw them on broadcast, for example. Nevertheless, Wave do get the spike planted. Seekers is available. We've seen plenty of ultimates from the sky across the Ned Street Gamers tournament in a frequency that is honestly unreal. Could be thrown out here too.
Stim Beacon's going to make things a little bit easier pushing back, and at least the sprays do find their mark. Down to 3 players here for Wave, and they're trying to defend in the post plant, but they're being pinched in by the members of Isuba. They'll find those players in lamps and defuse the spike. They will. Isuba now up by 1. Round we understood they were going to convert on, but now potentially here comes the gun round for Wave, an opportunity to answer back.
Lots of ultimates available. We highlighted the Seekers from Nico. Ultimates for Wave at least, as Carcass does have the Bladestorm. Not likely to be using it this round, mostly for the ecos that will be coming up. And midway to having a lot of stuff available for Isuba coming up. The thrifty round that we saw from Isuba before has stinted Wave so far, stunted the rounds that they wanted to get on the board, but the full buy-up is going to be available, and it starts off by getting a decent chunk of damage onto an aggressive push from Mazzarini.
Sounds like an exotic vehicle, as Muri is not going to be able to put his exotic vehicle into reverse. Carcass does find a trait, though, for Patagod, and they'll know that Hookah is not safe, and it's going to be difficult to push in. Really, on the flip side, though, the breach has already dropped out, given the respected space back to the attack, but they're not really going to poke the bear any longer. They're going to go into hibernation, and that means finding a cozy plant spot on this A site. So they've got the birds prepared. They've got a player towards that shower side to try to play contact with members coming in for vent, but Hitch Was hoping to find a little bit more success than that. Does find one, does get traded down to the 3v3 with the spike now being planted. The paint shells don't quite find their mark. There's a player up on the box, and Lifer does spot that out. Shot's going to be good onto Zik, who is playing contact towards the shower side as Carcass finds a trade. Nico with another, playing from Lamps just down to Mazzarini. Hoping to put some gas in the tank and find the win here is going to be in a little bit of a difficult spot as both players playing towards the short side. Mazzarini going to find at least maybe one here, but swing a little bit lower on the crosshair than I think he'd prefer. And Wave will tie us up 2-2.
Really good play from Wave, specifically Carcass. The 3K, so important just to make sure that Isuba don't have too much of a man advantage. Winning a lot of aggressive duels as well. Seekers, whilst it didn't necessarily connect onto anybody or set up any kills, it did show just how much space Wave had to make when it came to planting on the A site. All went well from there on out. Look at Isuba, they're still able to buy, they still have ultimates, both online and coming online in quick succession. Wave want to see if they can string together a couple more rounds if they can.
I like this aggressive push. They've got the Stim Beacon, they've got the recipe for success, but they just need to find the picks. They do. That's got to definitely hurt for Wave. They're still trying to push in from the opposite side. But really, this round may be lost already.
Not even off the back of any ults. It's just, that's going to be the main thing certainly going forward with a Stim Beacon, right? And it was just that flanking and hitting us headshots.
Last player standing.
Uh-oh. Oh! Let's find one for his troubles. Here come the paint shells. Oh, there's one. Here comes the jump. Oh, I'm surprised Brimstone wasn't able to... Almost Bobby's was gonna fall. I would have loved to see some life out of the defensive Brims. Come on, Mazzarini. Saw him tailwind in. You saw him go right over your head. But maybe that's the point.
I think so.
That's the
yeah,
point.
just sort of like bait his teammate, not give up his position. The assumption that Carcass was like, oh, if I dashed over here, it must have been clear, right? That's the only thing I can think of, really, not wanting to just spray and give up that position. But the theatrics from Carcass can't get too much done. It's a third round now on board for Asuba, who have been trading rounds so far, but the economy for Wave, because of the rounds prior, it's not strong enough. Trailblazer is going to be the thing that leads the line, seeing if it can clear some of these close angle corners, but Asuba having so many ultimates and utility to face are quite happy to give up this space as the execute comes in. And plenty to work with as the spike should be going down very shortly.
Knives find their mark onto Lifer. Of course, the smoke made it a little bit difficult to understand where they were going to be coming from, but great start on the Seiko. Here comes the red carpet. It's rolled out just for Wave, and unfortunately, they can't really capitalize on it much further. Here comes the lockdown, and that means Wave has to push forward. They don't really have a solid choice, but they're going to hope that the showstopper will find it, and it will on top of a frag. It does get quickly traded, though, by Bobby's. Still, the attack holding an A short. Hitch with one. Still looking for more, but there's going to be the Molotov lineup, and that's going to make things a little bit more difficult to defuse. Here come the Seekers. Try to find out where those players are located. A quick trade, but now Hitch is just trying to avoid those Seekers for the time being. But they know that he's playing towards Lamps, and now, of course, his position's been revealed. His position's been given away. As he's now likely going to try to go through the portal play, but there is a player on the opposite side. He's going to find him. He's going to look for the challenge, look for the sprays, but Tribune will find him through the box and the headshot. Wave will tie us up back 3-3.
Carcass again just making a play out of seemingly nothing with the Blade Storm just provides enough space for Wave to get in on the site, and these post plants have been so good from them. In comparison to Rick's GG that we saw before, it was a key area that they struggled in. Second Seekers on the board from Nico as well, used in a much more different way. Bursts out of a site, an area like Lamps, and forces Asuba to take engagements against utility, giving up their position, being caught out by people peeking from that util. It's super impactful. It's nice to see that the Sky is becoming much more popular, having impact in the right areas. But Mazzarini, again, with these aggressive Stim Beacon plays, is trying to go for a play on B lobby. But the orbital strike from Tribune is going to make sure that doesn't happen.
Breach is ready on the opposite side. There's going to be the lockdown, and they know exactly where he is. They got to find the frag first. Going to try to spray it down, but there's Lots of action happening down from the log side. They can't quite break it down. They're still struggling to break it down. That's actually going to be able to get through. The Hunter's Fury at the last second will take it down. Beautiful stuff, but it just does boil down to one attacking member in a 1v2. Owl Drone used to clear out, spot out where Nico is located, but he's going to wait for the cross. Unfortunately, does not time it correctly. And they know that he's playing for the 2 to can. Recon Bolt almost hit him right on the nose,
No,
but
did
still
hit him.
reveals his... Wait, it's stuck in him?
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough. That's tough. And of course, that's the shot, the stinger from Patagod. And Asuba regained the lead.
It was a messy round there. The lockdown from Zig just forced so many members of Asuba to try and kill it. But they just won so many of the duels. It was a lot of ultimates dedicated just to try and take those early pressure fights, but they don't really work out in the wave for wave, who spend a lot, lose out, and are forced to at least half buy yet again. Nobody can really get some rounds strung together at this point. It's certainly making for an interesting watch. And the Suba are making it competitive. I think all of the players are shining a lot more than I have seen them in previous performances. The Wave are always a good watch.
Fighting for control of showers. Aggressive turret up there as well. The paint shells will be used, and unfortunately, they'll have to back away and forfeit some of that control. Means that Asuba are patiently waiting for this A exec. But Carcass is already in lamps. Things have come through. They know that he's there. They've given up some of that short control, and I guess just happy to play the retake. But it's just Carcass. He's going to be playing quite the nuisance this round. Needs to hold on to this position, because if he gives it up, the team is not going to really be able to find a lot of success towards this B side. He needs to be looking for those exits as they return, try to escape. I know it's the eco, but he's in a great spot. Bobby's going to stop B side. Yeah, okay. Go. Just go ahead. Just go ahead.
I was just going to say that he was in, like, Bobby's was in a great spot as well to pick up the 4K. It's a strange one. It wasn't really too much of a buy up from Wave, but Isuba at least pulling together a couple of rounds now at this point. Ultimates, really, the Rolling Thunder can be used in a post plant, but Bobby's is certainly a much more aggressive breach player, one of them that we've seen, certainly when it comes to the top of the stats even. Bobby's is always going to be there for the breaches, so you expect a performance like this out of him. He is an ultimate good to go. And another Seekers is available from Wave.
We see those Sages farming him up. Farming him up. Farming him up. There's going to be a tailwind in. Unfortunately, not a lot of space to work with. Lifer and Patagod will get those frags necessary, but Zik with a Molotov somehow finds the raise. Comes the red carpet. It's rolled out for short, and of course that does mean that Zik can't quite push up as comfortably. Tribune in a little bit of a tougher spot as Zik is just trying to help him survive. 3v2 doable, but it's going to be very difficult, especially knowing that Tribune stuck behind the double stack. Here comes the flash. Zik just trying to survive and sidestep the flash, but Tribune will fall first. Zik will fall after. It's Asuba really leading the charge here, 3 rounds in a row.
Again, really good play from Bobby's, the Rolling Thunder, just to try and confirm the space in lamps. Isuba knew that it was going to be an A execute. He uses the ultimate, uses the flash to retake that space. And from there, it's really difficult for Wave to get a foothold in onto the A site. Even though he was playing on B, he came all that way and still took that space before Wave did. Great stuff from him. A 3rd round on the board for Asuba. A Wave yet again forced to at least half buy. Not too much money spent. They can't afford it. The Super are in pole position to keep moving forward with these rounds.
Found them. Killed my bot. Bomb grenade out.
Well, with control of one side means the lack of control of the other. The B long control this time means showers is relatively free for Zik to cause a ruckus, but that really does boil down to how the team plays on the B site, and they push in, let the elbow players and the long side players kind of have their way as 2 players push through defender spawn. They'll find an upgrade here from Yuri. I love this play, but the team is split. That's the problem. You get all this amazing space and you get all this fancy movement into the site, and you really don't get much off of it. Muri is going to fall, so that weapon upgrade is gone. Bobby's is ready for the push down long because they were prepared for the push down long the whole time. They were playing long the whole time, and that's why they went hookah and tried to split them up. Now it's down to 4v3.
Space, aren't they? Like, it's just a constant fight for them. And Bobby's is still there trying to get even more. They've got to really deal with Carcass carefully, and they're able to do that. But Asuba at least winning out against the eco of Wave. And you're right, like, B long is such a key area of the map that Asuba don't want to give up. And if you usually play agents like Silva, right, on the attack, that is the area that you would typically throw the recon at. That is the area that you would throw a lot of that utility to control it. Whilst with Sky, you have the guiding light flashes, the pigeons, and that's something that Nico's been doing very well. It's not really forcing people off that angle. Tactical timeout, I think, is coming in from Wave at this point. It's not really been going to plan. And I think when you're looking at Wave, you have plenty of things to work with at this point, hence why they're doing the tactical timeout now. Could be a technical one, but I'm assuming based on what ultimates they have, that it's a full buy, and how poorly this has been going for the German organization. It's not really been up to par. Asuba, you've got to say, when they don't have Twiston in their roster, they don't look nearly as impressive, at least on paper. But so far, this performance has been exceptional from various individuals at this point. We have seen a lot of defender-sided rounds so far today, at least. Granted, it was with very different teams, but potentially could be a thing to do with these two teams as well, Simo.
Looking at the setup for this round, well, we've got the time for a pause. Asuba stacking 4 on the A site with heavy showers control. You know, they're looking for that orb control, but this time not really focusing it down the long side, really leaving it up to the Killjoy, Patagod, to hold down any potential pushes from B. And I think the default for Wave has consistently been for early looks towards the B site. So it's a little bit strange for Asuba to give up so much of that control. But maybe they trust Patagod enough to anchor things down or hold off any pushes early on. So looking for that orb, doesn't get it, but doesn't need it. Was just trying to push them back. Here's the Trailblazer coming through. The dog's not going to find anybody. But now things are getting a little scary. And Asuba are right to rotate 4 members, just pulling off the A site completely. And Seekers, those ones on site, but where is everyone else?
It's a murky affair now for Asuba. As the spike gets planted, they still have elbow control, which is super important. All really that's happened so far is a smoke to keep it away, but Muri with a showstopper is the one that breaks on through. Patagot's turret is down. He's able to flick and get more. Muri creating so much space for his team. The other 2 members of Asuba backing off playing from CT.
Yeah, tough place to be in. Really was just down to the heroics of Muri, and those heroics continue to come through. He's gonna pick himself up the ace. Pick himself up the ace. What a solid round for Wave to come back, and it was just the right place, the right time. You know, we saw so much of that B site control, and Asuba was just like, yeah, let's just 4-stack A, boys. And all of a sudden, here we have a round where Wave just absolutely dominated.
So important for this play to come through as well. With the lockdown in, with all of this space that Asuba was trying to hold on to, having somebody to brute force the doors down for Wave was so important to keep them in this. Tactical timeout worked out wonders. The Seekers created the space, and if needed, Muri was going to get more.
Once again, Asuba on the wrong guess, on the wrong idea. Nazarena here as well, but he might not have the quick reaction times with the op, especially on the positioning that he was in. Wave now lead by 4, and once again are in full control of this B site, which puts Asuba in a little bit of an awkward position. They were finding so much value off of stuffing B pushes. They honestly gamble stack A 2 rounds in a row and put Wave in a position to really get that 5th round. Carcass for that conversion Bladestone frag, but it's just down to 1. It doesn't even matter anymore. God. Can he turn this one around? So far, yes. Answer might be no very shortly. Showstopper's going to take him down to 49. Molotov's going to seal the deal. And it's Nico puts a bullet in his back. And a 7-5 scoreline. And I honestly think we might not even be seeing a 7-5 scoreline if not for Asuba gamble stacking for a 2 rounds in a row.
I think that's one of the key things for them is just trying to find these engagements early and win them. I think when it comes to the mechanical aim of these players, Asuba seems to be winning out a lot of these duels, but the one thing that Wave have done a really good job of recently is putting their players in positions to trade out their teammates if needed. In cases like Muri, a lot of the time it's not necessary, but we saw Carcass there getting a few kills with the Bladestorm. He goes down, Tribune is there to trade for him at least. They make sure that these players still get impact even in fights that they lose, and against the Asuba, who, like I mentioned, are nutty aimers, that is going to be super important for them to continue on their defense.
Smoke's down.
It is where we're headed currently. Halves have swapped. Wave now on the defensive front. Suba on the attack. Spike is down due to the lovely coverage the smokes are providing, but we've got a flank in motion. 2 members coming in from the market side, and Asuba not really sending the Sova to defend, just sending him towards the shower side, really leaving up to the rest of the team. But they're getting pinched from all sides. Would have loved to see that support from Hitch, because it's now all down to him potentially. Lifer trying to find that conversion. Hitch now all down to him. He's really not going to find a whole lot. That was tough. He was flanking around from the shower side, maybe anticipating more membership to be kind of holding that side of Tetris. But in the meanwhile, it's just the flank hurt so much. He should have gone to help, just because I probably trusted his team to deal with them accordingly. Or maybe they just thought it was 1. It did probably only trip 1, but 2 players were there, and I'm sure Asuba were not expecting that.
Much better stuff from Wave. 3 rounds in a row. It's the 3 rounds that they had sporadically at the start of the first half. Tribune is going to be trying to take this control. It's going to be forced away from Bobby's fault line, and that's a bit of an awkward boombot coming in on the side of Muri. Doesn't catch these players holding on this position. Wave now hiding, or need to be careful of the players that are sitting within the smokes. Bobby's especially takes a shot, knows that he's there, he's going to back off. Spike is over at B. It's all about whether Asuba, with this lower buy, can get hookah control, which is going to be tough considering you have both Carcass and also Muri crossfiring in that spot.
Especially with the weapons they have, it's going to be painful. Meat grinder. Asuba are the sausage. Just going in. Being developed. They're not going to go that way, though. Don't want to be in a meat grinder, and I don't think I would either. I've seen too many Saw movies to know how that ends. But they're going to opt in to go down the long side. Muri's ready. He's got the stinger, he's got it pointed, and he's got it ready for damage. That's going to be 1. Does get to cover as the rest of the team going to be playing behind the tuna can. It's now Nico's job to get involved. 2 picks for him as Muri drops down. Slim pickings as he finds 3 in the round. Wave will tie us up 7-7.
I know that Wave was playing up against an eco, but it's still a great showing of why having hookah control on a B execute is so important. Sure, you can stack all of your players down B long and make your way through the site, but you saw how Muri used that space to control it, find a nice off angle that Asuba weren't expecting. You've got also Carcass in there to help trade if necessary. You can't really bottleneck yourself like that, but it was an eco. Full buy now. No ultimates really coming online for the attackers right now. Maybe an orbital strike for Mazzarini soon. But this hookah control is going to be a real pain in the backside to break now if you're Asuba, because this crossfire setup from Muri and Carcass is going to be scary.
All line's definitely going to be painful. Muri's just got to get out, but unfortunately they also got to clear the left side too. A quick trade. Guess who's coming? Hunting down for you. Zik hops in through the portal, but now they could just stall that out. but now they're looking for a potential swing. They've got the double swing coming through. Here's the stim beacon. It does get traded, but at what cost? So much control has been given up of this B site, and Zik is just trying to find some damage
Spike planted.
on that spike planter. Unfortunately, not going to happen. And Wave are kind of stuck, all split up.
It'll be a tough one now for Wave if they want to go in for this retake. Both coming from a near enough same position, and look at these shock darts coming through. At least the regrowth is going to heal some damage coming in onto Tribune, but Hitch is taking a very aggressive face. Nico trades him, and Bobby's trades out Nico. Nice execute from Asuba. Haven't needed to use the orbital strike, which came online throughout, but Wave now with the Seekers. We saw about, what, 4, 5 total maybe in that half previous, so maybe we're going to see that a little bit more on the defending side to gain that information. But it was how Asuba dealt with those players within Hookah was one of the reasons why they were able to take that space. And sure enough, whilst there was a duel going on there, the teleporter play that came in from Zik, Asuba uses that chance to sneak in onto the site, take a lot of 1v1 duels and win him out. Carcass though, defensive operator, looking down me alone.
A great aggressive early pick. That hookah swing is can be so deadly, but does he expect Patagot to be trying to spray him down with the Spectre? Definitely does after feeling a couple of those shots, and orb control quite solid on both sides. We're seeing a little bit of a gentleman's agreement. You take one, I'll take the other.
Still looking to be an A hit. All of these red players of Asuba trying to split across. The Eldron is going to gain as much information as it can from Hitch. Asuba just making sure that they can clear out some of these corners with the utility. The flash is now starting to come in. Zik holding within this cubby. Has at least a bit of a crossfire set up with Tribune, who's playing in lamps. Can win that first engagement. Swings out to try and take on Bobby's, but Bobby's can only get traded out by Tribune. Now it's just a 2v2. Seekers is available still for Nico, but the gun isn't really worth it in this scenario. Spike has been planted, and yet again, an awkward retake for Wave.
Here comes the bird. Wow, that navigation. Professional pilot. No birds left though. Regrowth available. There's going to be the op shot for Carcass, but now the defuse is just a tease. Suba's going to wrap around. Does Carcass expect it? Yes, he does. There's the defuse is coming through. Wave will once again tie us up 8-8. A little bit of a scary round there, especially when you've got two players, one with the most ideal weapon and one with the least ideal weapon. Good answer back for Wave, and they've won 3 of the past 4 rounds. This is going to be a tough economic position now for Asuba moving forward.
It was really handy that there was a Vandal right on the ground outside when they were going in for the retake. But you pointed out like the movement of the guiding light. It was super important that came through because it didn't make any noise. It showed that there was nobody playing in lamps, and it allowed Wave to play a bit more aggro, to face down A main a little bit more. Whereas obviously, if you got some information, they know to play around that. Really worked out well in their favor. That information was super important to that retake and worked out well. 8-all is the score. Lockdown on both sides. A showstopper on the side of Wave. Rolling Thunder, Orbital Strike, Super have waiting. The issue is they don't really have much money to work with, but we have seen a couple of thrifty rounds from them so far. They are attacking. And they have a showstopper in 1 ult charge. Another pause coming in. More so a technical one than a tactical. It's hard to know for sure. But, I mean, who do you think so far? Scores 8-all. Who do you think, based on the 16 rounds that we've seen so far, should take it in your book?
I mean, statistically, we've always seen the team that has the weaker first half win the second half. So I'm just going to go based on those odds that Wave are going to take it. But I still think that, you know, we haven't seen too much from either team. We saw 1 gun round from Asuba that didn't go quite well. So gonna have to see a little bit more. I'm just going based on what we've seen in the tournament so far.
The bids are really weird games today. But, I mean, you have to bear in mind that it's the first real tournament, strong tournament Europe's had this year. It's also the first time that some of these games have even been broadcasted, so
Don't overthink it.
maybe these kind of like warm-up games to get adjusted can be quite like this, certainly on the first day. But we're back in it now. Again, Asuba having to eco on this one. Do have plenty of ultimates across the board, and whilst the position of Cactus
Wow.
is given up, Nico and him are able to get these kills whilst being flashed by Bobbies. The Guardian Light's coming through from Nico. A lot of engagement, even Cactus being flashed by his teammates, gets a second. Bobbies with the Sheriff actually gets a nice shot there.
Enemy remaining.
Wanted the bleeding to stop. Make it stop. Someone get a bandage. Okay, maybe the bandage is for Nico, not for Bobby's. 1v3. Oh, just such a tough spot to be in. Just trying to do some more damage. But the inevitable has come. Snap your fingers. Half will disappear. Wave now up by 9. This is a gun round. I think that is super pivotal for Isuba. Look at what they've got cooking for ultimates. The Showstopper, the Orbital Strike, the Red Carpet, the Rolling Thunder, and we also have the Lockdown. There's just so much available for Isuba. If this round ends up being a flub, I think Wave are just going to get so much momentum off of this round and just close this map out. They've got ultimates too, and Tribune is not too far from his own Orbital Strike. This is so important for Isuba to win.
Cactus has been so good at being able to take those early duels, but this time at least he'll take some damage that can be healed up by the Sky's regroup. Now the Trailblazer, much like the Eldron, is going to see what information he can grab on B Long as the Showstopper gets thrown out aggressively into Hookah, retaking this space on the side of Muri, who unfortunately can only get one before he's taken down by Patagod. Setting up an alarm bot behind him to watch this plank. He has the right idea. That's exactly where Tribune could be coming from. And 4 members left alive from Asuba, all 4 having their ults.
Oh, he's in such a good spot. They have so much information off of this as well.
I got the spike.
You obviously can't go in through the teleporter through B short, so there could only be really one more place they could be. Here comes the Red Carpet. It's rolled out for Elbow. Lockdown to answer back, and of course they don't really have an answer for this quite yet, but they have a lockdown of their own. Yep, that's right. You can't plant the spike. And here's Tribune looking to try to cook a couple of players alive. I'm sorry, it's not Tribune. It is Tribune, but he decides against it. He doesn't pull the trigger. I'm messing up my brimstones, but now it's just down to the 3v2. Wave in a little bit of a tough spot, especially peeking out the fog there, peeking out the smoke. Bobbies with 2. That was definitely a round Wave I think should have closed out on. They had all the pieces there. They had the flank. They had all the members in a great position. They had the lockdown to answer the other lockdown. But Asuba really just, for some reason, won an entire round from sitting in B long.
Tribune had a tough decision to make whether he wanted to dedicate the ultimate, but he just loses that duel, which has pretty much been the name of the game for a lot of the rounds that Asuba been able to take. Inopportune moments won just by nutty duels on the side of the Czech Republican team. We're still having stuff to work with, certainly when it comes to economy and guns. They're going to try and play a bit more towards A main. The Hunter's Fury actually going to be used onto Zik as his position given up by the Aldron, but it's not really caught at all. Angles are a little bit off that Zik gets away scot-free, taking no damage and still maintaining this position within Bath. Isuba resetting to see what they can do across other parts of the map.
Launching smoke.
Slow and steady this time around. We might see the pace of the game slow down a little bit. Both teams want to respect the potential ability to lose and be knocked out of the tournament. This is still even phase 1, Ryan. We're not even in phase 2 yet. That's going to happen tomorrow. But you got to make it through the deathly gauntlet of best of ones. And that can be a difficult feat to do. We've got the 50 here in Showers. So far, that's how it ends up going. 2 players will fall, 2 players will survive. Here's a good orbital strike to stop the push come in, and Tribune saving it for the perfect moment, and it's gonna find one, but he quickly gets traded. Also, a player falls to friendly utility, and Wave will pick that one up nice and clean. Now up by 1, up to 10 in the double digits. That's a little bit of a mistake there from Lifer.
I think we're sort of seeing my biggest issue with Asuba over the games that I've seen of them, where usually you would have Bobbies and Twiston in this point where they are fragging as heavily as they are now. But even like Mazzarini, this isn't the first time that I've seen him bottom fragging by a considerable amount, if I'm to be, not to be too cruel on him. Lifer as well has to fill the boots of Twiston in this tournament. It's certainly not going well. They have very big boots to fill. Gonna try and play for an aggressive setup, but yet again, these guiding lights are coming through. Carcass gets 2. I love the way that they execute against this eco. Smart play from Wave.
Looks like I gotta pick up Sky in my games. This is looking real good. This is looking amazing. I gotta try this out in my ranked games. And listen, we got the Prophet, we got the Messiah in North America, rank 2, strong legs, only picks Sky in ranked, and he climbed to Radium. Okay, listen, if he can do it, I can do it too. Now he's also a pro player, so or a coach or a professional. I don't know if I consider myself. Yeah, he's doing something. He's doing something right.
3v2. 3v1 now as Bobby's goes down. It's just the Sheriff of Life. Carcass is going to be hungry for that ace. A gun upgrade, I think, is picked up at least from Lifer. At least win this duel. The second ace of this series at least could be coming out. It just depends if Carcass is bullish enough to peek. He isn't. Nico holding the off angle. He's happy to give that one up. And this half has certainly been a lot more of the tide coming in with Wave than the shock of Asuba, to say the least. Other than Bobby's, who's having an insane game, as per usual.
We actually have our first quarter finalist awaiting their opponent, Gambit Gaming. Taking down GMT 13-8 on split. Looks like Gambit are just tearing through phase 1. One more step and they can wait till tomorrow, as of course these two teams have 2 more steps, and the first step is right here, and Wave are 1 step closer to closing this one out. They're up by 2. Wave have been playing quite well on this defensive front. I like this turret here to try to bait out some early shots. Here's the swing, finds one, can't convert on the collateral.
Placing swamp, alarm bot down.
Now, of course, it is Zik that backs away. Yes, there's a portal play. Carcass in a lot of trouble. Maybe a little bit of an overzealous push. Nobody was there to support, but the flank is coming in this time, not from Tribune, it's from Yuri. That is somebody that I'd really like in the flanking position. Tribune can just stall with smokes. He can stall with the molly here. But Yuri's got more tools on his tool belt to do some serious damage.
Patient stuff from Wave. They are a member down. A Rolling Thunder is available from Bobby's. They want to work out exactly where he is, where this red carpet, as you call it, starts to roll out from. Zik is hit by a lot of it, but is still able to hold his ground. His position not really giving up all that much, and he is able to get 2.
Oh, Zik, tough spot to be in. Muri's coming in. He's a little late to the party. Hopefully he bought the green beans. He did. And the potluck's ready to go, but this time Asuba's not going to be eating well tonight. Wave are at match point, elimination point for Asuba. And really, this is probably the wrong time to say this, but I've been really impressed with Bobby's. It's unfortunate that he's
nuts, yeah.
I probably, you know, I wonder if this match would have went a little different if he was on a duelist role or something, because I'm not saying that his Rolling Thunders or his utility has been, you know, subpar. It's just that he's a fragger through and through. You know, you swap, you put Lifer on the Breach and you put Bobby's on the Raze, and you might see a whole different game, but we don't know what the team dynamic is like, right? There might be a preference here for Bobby's on the Breach. I'm sure they would prefer not to lose either, but some preferences can't be helped.
He is able to use that utility in the right way. 8 assists so far. And he typically has played Breach throughout his professional career. Yuri with a showstopper, he just picked it up, is able to at least get 1. He knows roughly where other players are, but down to 11 HP, he is relying on Carcass to help him out a little bit too. He's going to get flanked actually from Lifer, who takes all of this space onto through Hookah. Now questioning is if Zik can hold his ground within the smoke. Whether Asuba expect him in this position. Not likely. He's able to get 1, he gets 2. The spray down is almost good enough, but now 1v1 versus Tribune.
Molotov. Ooh, he doesn't hear the portal, though. He's too far out of range. That's going to put Atagod in a really good spot here. Look at all the utility he has available. This is where Killjoys thrive.
Oh, no. He's overthinking it.
Oh, no. You had it. Yeah, had it. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Pops the turret. There's the spray. Now it's just a battle of the tuna can. Who comes over? Who comes out on top? It's Patagod. 3 in the round. Headshot to seal the deal. But still, it's match point. They've got to survive for 2 more rounds. And look at the economy for Wave. Up to 6 figures. They're looking pretty.
6 figures?
I was trying to combine.
Yeah, like 6,000 credits. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, in the heat of the moment, you say things. Listen. All good.
Right there.
All good.
You woke up at like 5 a.m. today, to be fair. What time did you go to bed?
Like, I was up reading D&D at like 12.
Oh,
1.
no.
Not a good idea, but at least my character's ready. Ready
That's
to
good.
adventure forward.
Not as tragic as it might seem. Much like a Suba in this series as well, when it comes to sort of bringing it back a little bit with that clutch. Unfortunately, Wave is an hour earlier onto the call time when it comes to how drastic this could be looking for a Suba. They have a lockdown, looking to be making a play over on B long, but this is some information that now Zik has available to him. His turret is good info that this is a play coming through. The issue is that because there's no Hunter's Fury on the side of Wave, you gotta respect this ultimate or face it off very early on. Lockdown is gonna get placed. And even the defending Killjoy is ready to go too. So this Venn diagram over on the B side gonna take both teams out of the picture for now.
This match kind of reminds me of how Sage Resurrection used to be used. If you could, you know, one team will use it and then the other team will try to follow up with one as well, use it simultaneously. But this is slowly starting to fall apart, one member at a time. Hitch looking for some value, looking for some frags. He's going to come up empty-handed as Wave will defeat Isuba and move on 1 round further, I believe, into the quarterfinal. Don't know who they're facing quite yet. Don't think we'll have an answer for that for a while. But at the bare minimum, they can be very happy about their performance, at least for the time being.
Yeah, not quite the quarterfinals, but the round of 16, and whoever wins the it says quarter. I see what you mean. Like it says in the bracket quarterfinal, but the quarterfinals are like tomorrow, so it's a bit of an awkward one. Nevertheless, Wave Esports will go on to play against FTW Esports or Zero Zone. Again, Team Singularity was in that bracket and they lost at the first hurdle. In regards to the other games as we're closing in, CGN Esports beat Anatolia Esports in a thrilling fashion. I don't know quite what the score was, but in any case, they will play up against Sangal Esports or the B7 Warriors, I think it is. Gambit are through onto this section of the tournament as well, and they will play HS Dia, which I think, if I hopefully can organize it, that's the game we'll go to next, as Team Finest, Don't Even Ask, are still playing, and Rick CG are up against that Turkish team that I am terrified of mispronouncing. So you can check the bracket if you type in bracket, I've ! bracket in the Twitch chat. But considering that Defuse, I believe, are following along with what Team Finest and Don't Even Ask are doing, I imagine they will continue on with that Rick's game. So it's likely, but not confirmed, that we'll head over to see how Gambit Esports face up against HS Dia. So we're not going to dilly-dally too much. I want to make sure that we can get that game locked in. So we're going to go for a break. We'll be back shortly, and keep an eye on the Twitch chat for any future updates on what games we're going to be covering here. But there are other broadcasts going on at the moment, so do check them out. But we're going to go for a quick break. We'll see you very shortly for the final game of the day. Welcome back to the Red Bull Homeground official UK broadcast stream extraordinaire, Electric Boogaloo and all that kind of stuff. Final game of the day, the last of the best of ones, so we can stop pretending that we're Europe anymore and start getting into the proper solid formats of stuff. But this is a hell of a best of one we're about to go into. We've got Gambit, one of the better, stronger teams from the CIS region, versus HS Dia, an interesting lineup that's been rumored to be going to a couple of places, but they've certainly been storming up in the Tier 2 EU scene, certainly in the Nordic region. And this is going to be a hell of a matchup. I'm joined by Simo, of course, as we've been going through the games, the gauntlet throughout the day. But the final best of one, what do you want to see, Simo?
Well, first, I have to say I have a very impressive stone cold look. I never blink. I never move. I am a statue. I will will never be destroyed. Oh no, my ruse, the ruse, it's up. It's all smoke and mirrors. Depending on what map gets played, I think I'd like to just see another map. I'd like to see what Europe has cooking on other stuff. I know that Europe's map just tends to be bind. I know that that's kind of where they got their namesake on. That's where most teams like to kind of duke things out for all the marbles, and it's probably the most preferred best of one map, best of one format map. But I've seen some of the Gambit socials. They've been winning on Split. They've been winning on a couple of maps. They're definitely keeping things very interesting in their map pool. So we'll have to see what does end up kind of bring. They've actually played Icebox too. They played Icebox to get here, which is they played Split to get here, but before that they played Icebox. So they've got a pretty deep pool. We'll just see how HSD have to answer back. To be quite honest.
We are going into the server very shortly. I think we're actually in Hero Select now from the sounds of it. So we can check out exactly where we're going, what teams are going to be playing up. The main thing to highlight is that we have the new player for Gambit coming in. Sunset was dropped after a pretty subpar performance in the CIS first strike for Gambit, going out in the semi-finals against Team Singularity, I think it was, or Forza, one of the two. But in any case, Redgar's going to be playing over on the Breach Chronicle, who was a strong silver player, of course, going to be playing on the Omen as we go to Split with different changes. And HSD not really changing up too much of their roster since JD left for Ninjas in Pajamas. But Tabs is coming in as their fifth. Lynxy, who is the typical Sentinel player on this team, going to be moving over to Breach. Everything else fairly straightforward. Ali is certainly one of the better raised players to keep an eye out for. And the rumors circulating, if we're to talk about rumors, is that North were eyeing up this team. There's not really too much to it. We don't know what's going on there. North have categorically turned around and said that they're not interested in doing this stuff right now, at least according to Nell, who, keeps up to date with a lot of the CSGO reporting. So that's the general run-of-the-mill rumor mill that's been going on at the moment. But right now, they're playing in this tournament as HSD.
For those of you that are relatively new to Split, may have not had the opportunity to play it this week, or just really haven't had the opportunity to play Valorant at all over the past little bit, it is much easier, I think, for the attack to play this game now. At the beginning of Split during the beta, it was almost near impossible for the attack to get around. Like a 10-2 would be an admirable half for the attack, but the defense has a little bit more of a difficult time, I think, to holding on to certain angles now, and you're seeing that come to fruition here as they've got a lot of control up towards this heaven side. They dropped down, but there's still two players remaining from the defense, and they're up in the heaven side where the attack just left. 2v4, but there are two members on Gambit that are quite injured. That is, of course, the Breach and the Omen. A little bit of trouble. If they can find a little bit of success here from HSDR, they actually might be able to turn this down to a 2v2. But they're not really quite moving quite aggressively. They're still held up in heaven. They've got a screens player. There is a wall that went up from Gambit. Now it's just down to Vicious. And he finds one, but that's all he's going to find. This Gambit will clean up this first map. And they've been playing on this pretty much for a majority of this tournament, I think. So they're very comfortable on this map.
I think they've always been as well. We're now getting into a point with Europe where a lot of the CIS and Turkey teams are involved in the same ecosystem. There's no challengers, CIS challengers, Turkey. It's all under the same umbrella. So these kind of matchups we're going to see quite a lot of. A little bit of a ping disadvantage to Gambit more than anything, but not really too much to be concerned with at this point. It's just there on the defense. 1-0 down. No buy-up, just a couple of bigger guns in the hands of Sheriffs. Tab's playing a bit more aggro in mid, looking away so he doesn't get flashed out by the Breach, but it's just going to be Chronicle over there with the spike nearby, at least keeping an eye for this aggressive push that's coming. It's going to line up, and Tabs, actually with the Sheriff, gets a nice shot in.
Well, it's an upgrade as well, and Vados just trying to find a little bit more space in Ramen. He's going to have to pick up the spike and hightail it out of there because the defense are hunting. They do manage to find a trade towards the B side, and that is spike down. Ouch. Ouch, what a round from HSDR. It all started with the push down middle, but there was action all over the map that was missed, but it was all happening at the same time. It was just fights everywhere, and they all went to the way of HSDR.
And you gotta feel bad if you're Gambit here. Again, like, this is a team that has come back from recent disappointments from First Strike. They were considered, and I'm gonna quote Doombros on this because he's always wrong with these kind of quotes, the Gambit is the best team in CIS. Clearly not, because Forza were the ones that won out in CIS First Strike. So instant improvement, I suppose, by dropping one of the mostly bottom fragging players of Sunset in for Redgar, who's now coming in as the full-time, well, up until now, the control player, but he is on the breach today. Now the eco in the hands of Defo, who finds himself up against a tall stack of players, but it's Ali, the Vandal, who wins it out. What a crosshair from Lynxy. Look at this.
I've seen worse, right? I've seen worse. That is not the greatest, but here's the complete opposite of that. Still red, still thick, but very nice and tiny in the center, where you want it to be, where you can hit the headshots. We'll see if Chronicle's able to find one here. It is nobody in towards the heaven side, at least from what we know of so far. The 4v4 early picks go both ways. Remember, HSDR are coming in with a huge advantage into this round, considering they won the second round conversion off of their own eco. They found upgrades, they brute forced their way in, clean up. And to be fair, rightfully
30
so.
seconds left.
I still think to a certain extent this map can be a little defender-sided. We still have to see the data as it comes in rounds by rounds by rounds, and how these new changes kind of adapt. But the defense still have a great job at retaking, or it's a little bit easier to retake sites. And that's unfortunately what HSDR might be tasked with. AL swings,
10 seconds
finds a
left.
pick onto Chronicle. Here comes the plant, and he's planting a little bit of a different spot. Not normally, well, I'm guessing that's the new default.
Oh,
But
yeah,
so far,
with the split changes, yeah. Forgot about that. Ooh, the paranoia is good, actually. That came out of Subma. Ali, though, is just a little bit late to the party. The tripwire really being a saving grace there. Allows for a third kill, but now it's just Nats bringing this now into a 1 versus 2. The flake, the spray, an awkward one. And all down to Subma. That paranoia that connected to those players within the top of the B site. I don't know what you quite call that. Like quad, maybe, in that spot. One of the reasons why they're able to create so much space for themselves.
Yeah. I definitely should have felt like a little bit of a cleaner round from HSDR, but still they bring it on home. Now here comes the gun round for Gambit. Now we have to remind ourselves they are on the attack. You know, everything that we still know still makes this map feel a little bit defender-sided. So I think for HSDR to commit so heavily onto that second round puts them in a pretty good spot here.
Mm-hmm.
They need to convert onto this one, though, to make sure they can continue to build up some of that momentum. A lot of ultimates on the horizon. Superman and Ale 1 point away. We'll see if there's orb control on the horizon for them. Does not look like that's going to be the case.
Sneaking through, or at least trying to, is Gambit for all of these smokes. Ramp control can be very much ripe for the taking. Subma is in 2 minds away, wants to be looking. You do have the breach of Lynxy staring all the way down from B along with a Phantom from distance. With that crosshair, it's always going to be tough to take fights from that kind of distance, but look at Subma. He's under a lot of pressure now as 2 players have made themselves up from ramp. He is going to fight that engagement. Shados, though, gets the headshot. Ale now looking to try and re-peek him, if not a bit late and a bit more staggered, but is he going to be expecting 2 players in that spot? He tries to wallbang. It does a lot of damage to the Sage, but in the end of the day, she can heal herself, and it's a 5v3 in favor of Gambit.
Serves me right for calling him Ale, because
I did the same.
Ale
During the Frag League tournament, I did the exact same. It's Ale. I got told off by Milan, their old coach.
definitely sounds much cooler. It sounds like a prestigious ale, you know? Comes only from the ripest berries. Fortunately for HSDR, they're gonna need some ripe berries after this round because it's not looking good. Spikes planted, they're gonna save the weapons, move into the next round. But I think Gambit might go hunting, or at least Nats will. Hunting tends to be a solo trip, you know? It's
They found my
man or woman versus wild. And so far, the wild bites back. He will not survive the forest. Leave the forest with his tail between his legs, and the rest, of course, of Gambit will just run, escape. Spike will explode, and they'll tie us up 2-2. But actually, yeah, they're gonna maybe avenge their fallen comrade. Not quite sure yet. In the vicinity, playing it a little bit safer. move on to that 5th round.
He does get traded out in the end, and the 3K is complete from Shados this round. Key, taking a lot of those isolated engagements against HSD that staggered themselves through those engagements on ramp. It wasn't ideal. Subma had a lot to deal with, and Gambit using the smokes, the cyber cages on A lobby just to slink on through. HSD now sort of setting up a bit more of an aggressive play. It seems that Subma on that spot is pinging and looking to paranoia across. It's really just only going to be Chronicle over there, and a bit of a calm, collected camera from Nats that's going to spot this play coming through. It's a showstopper combo, actually, from HSD, but doesn't really find out much. In fact, gets caught out by Nats, who was playing very passive, was expecting that play, and now using an Earl 5 to get some more intel.
Spike, unfortunately, is not in their hands, despite the confidence now that exudes from them and how happy they are off of that pick and how happy they are off the intel and how happy they might be after they find this pick here, too. That Spike's got to be picked up. So it does, and it's going to be blast back through the defender spawn. Because now it's just down to Sipma. Can he survive this? He's got a one-way, but he's playing too close to really find any value from it. He's going to try to back away, play back sight, but he doesn't really have a whole lot of time left. First pick's going to come easy. Will he teleport to safety? Yes, sir. Still 42 HP. Does get blinded by the light. As it's frag for frag for frag. Down to Vicious with an op in the defender spawn. And it's really Gambit that have run away with this round. Started off with the heroics, the attempted heroics from Raze, but stuff on taps playing the default. That's what you love to see, especially in the ranked games. But you don't tend to see it at all.
No. I mean, he's been great so far. And another flawless round coming through with the help of the Resurrect from Shados. I'll be honest, I haven't really got to see much of Gambit play other than the VODs from First Strike. They've been a team that have been together for longer than really any other CIS roster. Forza was kind of involved. I remember them in that We Play tournament way back when, but that roster's changed up, it's improved, it's got stronger. Gambit looking to certainly do better than they did at First Strike. I think qualifying for this event would be a great thing. And even when you look at the teams that they might have to face off against tomorrow, the stack with Brams and co, you've got Defuse in there, you've got Oxygen, Esports, and Big. You could consider Gambit to be on that caliber of team. So they are not going to be faced if they manage to qualify going up against one of those 4 teams that I mentioned. HSD have done it enough to prove themselves, but this is a tall order going up against Gambit here.
Ale just trying to find something magical. Rabbit will not be pulled out of the hat. Chronicle, however, looking to entertain this mid push, and Taps is going to be the first to fall. There's the swing for Vicious. It is answered back by Lindsay. This eco still possible. It's just going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. They found one. Need a couple more to even those odds. They need to find some upgrades. If they want to win this one on the defense, they got to find some upgrades, and I think that's not going to be very easy to do, especially with this wall up now.
I like the space that Gambit being able to take in control. Showstopper is available, but it's more of a sense of if Redgar can set up these plays. The Flashes are more connecting onto his own teammates than HSD are at this point, but that's because the defenders are so spread across, retaking and flanking a lot of these spaces. Spike has been planted towards where Ale is playing from, but he doesn't really have much to work with. Rolling Thunder could be good from Lynxy, but the weaponry not really going to favor them in this engagement, but Ale finds an opportunity. Boombot's going to be good to sort of break it up as the Rolling Thunder connects onto site, but now it's just going to be Lynxy taking the fight, brings it to a 1 versus 2. Shados again, it's the final frag that comes in, and Gambit get a 4th.
Still, the damage has been done, but the economy on the Gambit side is great. It's very, very good. I think this is a pivotal round up and coming. We've got some ultimates available on both sides. Most importantly, Resurrection for Vicious. But even more importantly, Redgar and Defo are ready to engage onto a site. Now, winning this one for Gambit would put them at 5-2. and then put HSDR back down to economic disadvantage. A good catapult round right here, a good momentum builder. And actually, it's good on Vicious to stop that momentum early. Puts the wall up, stops the 5-stack push, but there's a TP, and it's committed. Uh-oh, this is bad news. There's the paranoia, there's the swing, there's the push forward. Supma, oh, baby! He's still gonna find that one. The push is still being committed. The showstopper finds nothing, and HSDR will defend this A site, boiling down to 2 Gambit members. 5-stack Zerg rush into the A site did not pan out, was not in the cards for them. It looks like HSDR have the potential here to win this round.
It's what these attackers can do. Shados, I wonder how far away he is from having his ultimate. Far enough that it's not really going to be turning up in at least this round. They're going to consider going somewhere else. They have 45 seconds at this point. So plenty of work and time to be able to maneuver around, but you've got this setup over with tabs over on the Cypher on B. Mid is pretty much open to go with. You can see that Lynxy is not really sure where he wants to be playing from, but he hears the steps of Gambit and he hears this execute coming in.
Headshot.
Last player standing.
3 to
Easy
4.
enough.
Very, very easy. Solid round coming in from HSDR. Now this, on the flip side, is a great catapult round for them.
This goes here.
Economy is slowly starting to be chipped away here for Gambit. One more round, and I think it might just break. 2,400 is what they'll get into the next round, so it's probably going to be a soft buy. This does end up being a loss, and HSDR need time to develop an economy of their own. So we need some good stuff here. Neural Theft available, From the Shadows available. Everyone else a little bit out of the range for a potential ultimate play. We're playing around it. And Gambit, see how careful they are this time on the A side execute, because last time they got stuffed by a wall. Sage nowhere near, so potential is a little bit higher this time. Thinks he has to be careful. He is flashed off. He sprayed through the box, trying to hide. Did not do so successfully.
Just trying to hide and play within the smoke, but it's Vicious that has to heal himself back, so at least has to help Avali to find that jewel. He's going to find even more in mid, but yet again takes a good chunk of damage away from Defo's paint shell. They line up though.
Last player standing.
And now it's just him playing over in mid. It's going to be tricky for HSD to work out exactly where he's going, what he wants to do, and whether he has the spike or not. The answer to the last question is no. He has to go pick it up over from Suitors. So really it's a question of if Supma over-focuses here, whether he tries to face aggressively with 30 seconds left on the clock,
30 seconds
or whether he waits to play for a 2 versus 1 retake. Defo picks up the spike, not really enough time to go B, but the only other option is A.
He's got to face the wrath of Supma. They're doing a great job anchoring this site. Not a lot of time left. Defo's going to have to make a move eventually. Just too many angles to cover. You saw he was searching. He was soul searching on the A site, trying to find himself, his team a win. He will not. We're tied up 4-4. Momentum builder is starting to come to fruition, and Gambit have got one more force up here left in the tank before things start to get a little bit scary for this half. And HSDR finally are starting to find a little bit of momentum of their own. Ultimate's still available, same as last time, but this time Ale and Lynxy a little bit closer. Still no orb control from either side, which hurts to see, but you know, it is what it is.
A lot of utility forced up very early on from HSDR, actually, to make sure that we don't see Gambit pushing them too far. In regards to aggressive ultimates, they don't have many, just a Neural Theft that's looking to potentially be used on the side of Nats. He is flanking around over to B lobby to go ahead with this B execute. But look at Chronicle, he's made a lot of space for himself, and he has forced away Lynxy from this angle. I don't think Lynxy was expecting him to be following in such close proximity, but yet again, HSD may be overthinking the approach that Gambit have put together here. Gambit relishing off this opportunity with a staggered B execute. 60 seconds left.
Satchel up.
Up and over they go, over the wall. So far, so good. There is a utility frag that comes in for Ale. Down to the 5v4. Still, the site is theirs, but the Spike is a little bit afraid and a little bit cautious to cross the street. There's no car there to hit you there, so Spike is now going down. HSDR are all caught up in this alleyway. This is going to be an awkward push, especially with the breach on the opposite side. One flash, and they are all dead to rights. Down to the 3v4. Tabs is holding off the potential flank. Here comes the paranoia. There is a player blinded, but he's got a counter blind, and guess who's coming in from the opposite side? It's Redgar and Nats, but they get taken down, and now it's up to Defo, who's taking the time to try to flank all the way around. He's not going to have the time to do so, and it's the solid hit here for HSDR to win around, but the damage really good here for Defo to try to keep their economy down. Yeah, we'll let you have the dub, but we're going to make it expensive.
There's not really that many rounds left, though. But you're right, it is going to be important as we close in on this first half. Gotta say, not too bad from Gambit's attack inside 4 rounds. They can certainly make that work going onto their defense, but good read from HSD to know that Defo was going to be trying to flank from some position. Just make a start on the defuse, make sure that they can try and rat him out and flush him out in some position. Speaking of which, a showstopper is going to be used very quickly. Connects onto Chronicle. Now, Ali, if he could just get one more kill, he can before he's traded out. Makes it much more worth it on the side of HSD. No Resurrect available. Certainly not for Gambit. It is good to go. But with them being one of the players down, it was so important for Ali to get that kill.
I know exactly where.
Tough position to be in if you're Gambit. Be looking towards the A site this time around, and for HSDR, playing it a little bit passively in terms of heaven control. A little bit more heaven control towards the A side. A little bit of a different angle here for Supma. He's been playing boots on the ground for the most part. For the first time, we've seen him a little bit more vertical, and it pans out, works out for him. He's got a paranoia to follow up to get into a different off angle. I like this play because now, of course, the flash comes through. They were looking to try to find a little bit more space. Instead, they find a trade just down to Redgar. He's all by himself. Cage goes up. If he walks through it, makes a noise. If he doesn't, they know he's towards the ramp side. Or he pulled off. There, the headshot's going to mean that he's still there. But Vicious able to trade things out, and HSDR really finding themselves in a comfortable lead now. Potentially could close this one out 7-5, but it does boil down to this round here.
It's just been an all-round good game from HSD. While Supma is top fragging for his team, the rest aren't too far behind. I think the only not even disappointing factor has been Linksy. He has typically been the Cypher player on this roster. But the Breach so far hasn't really lined up both in kills or even assists for his team. You could say a similar thing for Redgar as well, who isn't too far ahead in that retrospect either. But look at this play. Ale trying to face up against Defo as he's trying to jump through the Sage slows. Shadows trading him out. Has that Resurrect, can at least bring it now back to a 5 versus 4.
He wants it. He's got one more till the resurrection, but he's got to be careful. He's playing with death. Here's the showstopper, and it's going to go right to the dome. He does get quickly traded. He wanted that resurrection so bad. Get the raise back up. We're 5 strong. Gambit say no, not today. And then Nats coming in from the heaven side has to be careful because there is the A defense now that's rotated over. 1 through spawn, 1 through ropes. Spike, of course, still needs to be planted. Here comes the camera. Let's get some intel. Where is everyone located? Tag connects, and Subma, so unfortunately, can't convert on that tag. It's actually Shadows that'll find the shot through heaven. What a solid round from Gambit. The fight for B main does go their way as they were trying to fight back on HSDR. Now here we go. Last round. Gambit could tie us up 6-6. It's a gun round for them. They ecoed that round, or they soft bought so they could get to this point. HSDR, fortunately, Vicious won't be able to participate with the assault rifles on his side.
Really, for HSD, whilst Ale was the first to get the kill, he provided an opening. The Resurrect reversed that frag, provided an opportunity for Gambit even, and HSD from then on out had to do something overstepping the mark, perhaps. But Redgar is the first to get a kill onto Subma, who couldn't clutch out in the last round. He isn't going to be partaking anymore within this side of the half, unless the Resurrect comes in, but now Ale might be a better target for that. Vicious can't necessarily get the Resurrect in, but he can get a kill onto Shados. It's just 2 members left of HSD. It's looking likely that this half is going to wrap up as a 6-all scoreline. But Gambit still need to plant that spike over on B, or eliminate the rest of this HSD roster.
Oh man, those were some acrobatics. Linksy in a tough spot, just trying to blind them for as long as he can, stall them out, but not really going to pan out. So it looks like we'll tie things up unless Tab's got some miraculous movements.
Would be insane.
Yeah. He'd be the hero, the player. He'd be my Champions Tour player, you know? First class. He'd be my first class player.
Maybe. We never know with some of these players. Anything could happen at this point, but it seems to be a stretch beyond what we were maybe hoping. But
Switching sides.
that is not a bad attacking half, though, for Gambit. 6-all. Now it's just a case of how strong their defense can be if they can shutter out HSD from getting themselves on the board too much. And HSD are always going to look like a weakened team when you don't have JD in your roster anymore. And when you're replacing a star talent like him with, I was gonna just say Tabs, but I don't even mean it in that fashion. I've barely seen this guy play. But when you're getting rid of a Sova / Jet and replacing them with a Sentinel, there's always going to be a bit of concern over how these teams are going to perform then on out, right? So it's just they're not maybe looking as strong as they used to, but still a very well-established side going toe-to-toe with an absolute CIS Colossus team being Gambit. 6-all is the scoreline, and an attacking pistol round would be key here for HSD.
Gambit are on the defense, though. Maybe the defensive win percentage still counts. Maybe it's still a factor. That smoke went from range. And Shados just wants to play within it, so he can at least hold off the push in, but Nats is going to be responsible for the actual push. There is still a player that ends up going through the mailroom, so that smoke would have been lovely to see Shados still there, but the call out, hey, there's 4 coming in through B main, and Shados still finds that player, despite not being in the smoke, down to the 2v3. Redgar playing up from the heaven side. There is a wall, and he does end up falling. Can't even use the aftershock, but the spike is not planted yet. And the 2v2 is here. The smoke is going to come off from the side. There's going to be now the spike down, just down to 1 final player. Vicious has to deal with now Chronicle. And the spike is in his hands. The shots are going to ring true. They're battling it out. It takes a little while, but HSDR chug along. 4K on the round for Vicious. And here we sit. 7-6.
He almost has his res. 6 and 7 for having that because he's planted the spike as well. Really good stuff from him. It really seems to be the battle of the sages. The other thing I was going to note is you can tell that Nats is a Dapper fan. The exact same sort of setup that he has as the Cypher over on B, what we saw with the NRG Envy games with Sentinels, lurking through your own cyber cages, all of that was apparent straight away in that pistol round. But instead of playing on B this time, he is going to maneuver over to A and hold that spot. Bit of a buy-up coming out from Gambit when it comes to Sheriffs and stuff, and a little bit of damage done to Defo. Immediately healed up from Shados. HSD having a really clutch roundup and an ultimate very well close to being useful in the side of a Resurrect. And Vicious, the one that almost has that ultimate, hungry for a kill onto Nats. He gets it. The Resurrect is available whenever he should choose to use it.
Sight is in control here, but yeah, you know, pistol's not exactly the most ideal here. Wow! Ale, surprised he survived for that long. I think he shot him in the head probably like 50 times. Down to Chronicle. And of course, we see the running and shooting, the shooting and running. Here we go, 8-6. Here comes the gun round. This is the pendulum swing. Conversion for Gambit. You lose this one, oh boy, do I have some words for you.
It's been a great day when it comes to some of these closer games. We've certainly seen some of the best talent that, honestly, we never really got a chance to see during First Strike because a lot of those games weren't televised. But I think we're also sort of seeing some of the weaker areas the teams like Rix, like Wave, even Gambit at this point can certainly work on going into VCT. Redgar, though, with the flash, connects on nicely to Ale, who thought that he was on the high ground, maybe snuck his way in. Vicious, hoping that he managed to slip on by, gets caught out by Nats. Redgar still holding onto the site. Might not be expecting to have this Cypher player, Tabs, playing in on the A site, but with the Spectre, he is the last alive. Nearly a flawless round from HSD. And Tabs having to clutch out with multiple players looking in his general direction.
Oh, Tabs saw one. He does get capitalized on there. Round, we understandably knew that Gambit was going to win. In the fashion that they did, definitely hurts HSDR quite a bit. But this is probably the most pivotal round. All things considered, pistols, second round, and gun round. This is where the metal hits the metal. The rubber meets the road. Where it all boils down. The momentum will start to build for one team or the other after a round like this. Considering we're so neck and neck, somebody needs to kind of slip away from the pack. Especially moving into a new half, where obviously somebody has to be feeling their side a little bit more than the other.
Only is still fine for HSD to make a play with it. This utility again, trying to actually catch out Nats on the attack. Not Nats, sorry, Tabs. There's a lot of damage, but immediately healed up at least from Vicious on the stage. HSD wanting to play for a B split. You can tell from the position of where Ale is in B main. However, all of this utility that's been thrown into the center of the map by Gambit has really stalled this plan. It hasn't necessarily changed it, however. They are looking to throw all of their players into B main, which is now a lot wider of a walkway for Chronicle to keep tabs on. But he's going to sort of back off, careful of Heaven. Gambit giving a lot of space up to HSD that maybe don't even realize how much they have to work with at this point. All 5 players looking to come through with an execute on B. Defos position is not checked on this corner, but he does get traded out eventually from Subma.
Flash, of course, Redgar is going to stop him. Can't create a multi-frag opportunity for him. Psych, that's 2. He does eventually end up falling as the resurrection will be nullified. 3 still strong here for HSDR. Spike does end up getting planted. Shadows will nullify that. There's an injured member there. Doesn't have the support of the Sage anymore. That injured member will fall. Supma now down to Tabs. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Saw the rifle. The angle there was just so good for Nats. And unfortunate. Now Gambit will tie us up once more. This is now the round that I was talking about, the flip-flop. This is where we potentially might see some rounds start to really develop in their favor. The economy not good for HSDR, and Gambit have an opportunity to regain the lead they had in the middle of the first half.
The issue, really, when you look at it, is HSD, they did win the pistol, but it came down to an insane clutch from Vicious. How many more times could you rely on a player from HSD having to bail you out like that in some capacity? Especially now, an eco is forced, 3 ultimates available from Gambit, all of which are going to be super impactful potentially going forward.
Shadows traveling.
It's unlikely that HSD will be able to take this round. It's hard to know for certain, but the least you need to confirm is a couple of kills. You want to make sure that Gambit can't run away with an economy. They can't keep buying up. Ali at least being a bit more proactive with his approaches already, just churned down to 22 health, and the wall bangs came in thick and fast from Redgar. Already 5 versus 3.
1 enemy remaining.
Flawless.
Well, you blink and you miss it. What can I say? Looking at, of course, now the next round. 4 ultimates available for Gambit. This is a scary position to be in if you're HSDR. Lots can be committed. Fortunately, it's not the showstopper that's available, but still the threat of information from the null theft, the threat of stalling for the breach. Well, Defo's 1 point away, and he's nowhere near an ult orb. But maybe they might get one him for here in B main, if Ale has anything to say about it. But a lot available here for Gambit, especially on this gun round here for HSDR. They use the paranoia. They want that ult orb so bad, and they will get it. It costs a lot, to be fair. You and I both know that, with how much they spent and how much they gave away. Information that Omen is playing B main, information that Sage is playing B main, and that likely Raze is as well. But now Raze is really going to try to find some value, and it doesn't. Still, shots come through, but now Defo's in a tough spot. You put yourself here. You blast packed it forward, hoping for the showstopper. Now your friend's dead. Lynxy hoping for that frag, hoping for the revenge, and he finds it. That is juicy. Everything committed for Gambit, and they come up still down after a round from here for HSDR.
Now it's getting interesting. The A split could potentially be on the cards. Chronicle knows this. He knows that ropes is going to be a dangerous area, but maybe not expecting the player to be right there. He wins the duel, however, against Supma. The high ground working out in favor as it usually does. But Tabs now keeping things in check. 3 versus 2. Rolling Thunder on one side, Resurrect on the other for Gambit. It's whether or not you can see Shados getting into a position where he can res a teammate and come in to help. Nats, if he can get one from this position, would be enough, especially with the effects of the Rolling Thunder going down. He gets one. That's key. He's trying to find exactly where the other players are, whilst Redgar's being brought back into the server. It doesn't matter, though. It might not even come down to it. It's Vicious yet again. Nowhere near an ultimate. Has to clutch this out. 1v2.
Rolling Thunder is still available, and if I'm Gambit, I'm committing it here. That's what I'm talking about. Here it comes and rolls out, but he gets flashed still. So dangerously close. Shados doesn't get tagged, but that was a little too close for comfort. And I like really the added factor there of the flash, right? He might have been so confident to say, hey, the Rolling Thunder is gonna secure everything we need, right? He wanted to make sure that he did his homework, that everything was covered, that there was nowhere to hide for Vicious. And that almost came close. He was about to switch the spray onto the second player, but just didn't know where that player was because he was blinded.
This has turned into a real slobber knocker of a game. But Gambit, 4 rounds on the bounce, have maintained their lead so far. This mid control from the Sage and the Raze combination has been one of the main reasons why HSD have struggled to get anything done on Split. Even this new iteration of Split, which is a little bit fairer for the attackers. Resurrect now for HSD is good. Yet again, we haven't seen it necessarily turn the tide of some of these battles. Chronicle's position is a little bit more aggressive from this spot. Can at least Shroud step out of there if he gets under a lot of pressure, but he can do that after getting a kill onto Subma. He's changed up his spot. Tabs gets a kill across the map, and then suddenly the kill feed fills up with HSD. Shados at least trying to contain where Tabs is, but he still gets a second.
Easy.
Down to just 2 here for Gambit,
Spike planted.
but the 2 are very powerful. Redgar gonna find 2 of his own as it's down to the 3v2. Aftershock gonna put Sub on a little bit of a different position. It's got to reposition after that. Lots of flashes available for Nats to play with. Another flash comes in. Here comes the push through the cage, but he's got to back away because of the paranoia. Here comes the cam, knows the players to the right. That means that everyone else is left. Now that Redgar has fallen, it boils down to Nats. Unfortunate fault line puts him in a tough spot. He's got to push forward, and as a result, he will fall.
I'm standing up for this one now. This is getting very exciting. The fact that HSD have been able to keep this close to Gambit is impressive, to the point now that Gambit actually have to take a tactical timeout just to make sure that they know what they're going to be doing going into this half. HSD even if they lose in this best of one, it is a best of one, unfortunately. They can at least leave with their heads held high. It's been a great performance. I have to say, a good introduction to Tabs. He's had some really standout rounds on this Cypher. It still leaves me a lot of question marks on what this comp, this roster, this agent selection is going to be for the future for this Nordic team. Going up against toe-to-toe with Gambit, who are looking to effectively win the VCT half of Europe at this point. This is a very competitive team. Really put under pressure. You gotta look at individual performances too. Chronicle, usually one of the standout players. I know me and Doombros, the analyst for FPX, fawn over this player on the Sova. Certainly hasn't been living up to the same expectations on the Omen. It is a very different map, bear in mind. It's typically a map where you don't play Sova. But still, maybe no excuses in the cases of Gambit, who really ought to be qualifying for this event with the teams left in it. You gotta look at it that way. In HSD, there's been rumblings that they're going somewhere. We don't quite know where, we don't quite know if they would be signed at this point, considering VCT's around the corner. But if there's still Orgs looking out there for a team, this is a great acclamation, no matter how this game ends.
I mean, you even went on to say that Gambit is an incredibly solid team. So a loss here doesn't mean HSDR by any means is a bad team.
No,
Let's
not
look at the
all.
round, though. Smoke does come towards mailroom, but we have Raze in the middle, and the wall goes up. So they have at least information for the time being. A teleport comes in from Omen, and he commits to it. He gets sprayed down. Oh, it's decimation from HSDR. Edgar's got some moves, too. Still down to the 1v3. Going to be very difficult for him to come out of this one. Look at the utility he's got. He's got everything. The problem is, though, he's got to figure out where are these players playing. At least guaranteed one player backside. That's the one that he needs to find. All line's going to put him in a little bit of trouble, but he can at least get there to safety. Here comes the red carpet, though. It's rolled out. Here's the flash to follow. Where's the player? Sees one back to screens. But there's a wall there, and that's actually going to put HSDR in trouble. Here's the fake tap. Pros don't fake, but Vicious knows that. He swings. He'll find the value, and we're tied up 10-10.
That was a 5v1 clutch that could have been possible for Edgar. He demolishes free in pretty nice fashion. Second top fragger in the server overall. But a great round from HSD. The way that they just sort of completely blitz their way onto the site. Not up against an eco. Bear in mind, this is a full rifle round. And much like that execute snaps across. But Redgar, the latest addition to this roster, replacing Sunset, is going to be a key thing. We can play off the sounds for now, at least at this point. Trying out different technology, it happens. It's a rehearsal, we're waiting for the main show, but this certainly is a nice warm-up song just to make sure that everything is working at this point. And for both rosters, it has been 10-all.
Chronicle ready here with the paranoia. Ready for the song and dance. Great potential swing ready from Defo as well to follow up. You can see how hesitant HSDR are. This is a new opening here. Wall goes up, and it's an interesting one. They actually just dive right in, but they don't find anything. They get taken apart. Chronicle will at least hold the line temporarily. He needs to buy time. Redgar is here. They spray through, and now they've got to retreat. But guess who's going to have to defend the A site now? It's Nats. Where are HSDR going to go? Let's find out.
The tripwire is going to be the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, if they do break through onto mid through ropes. But it isn't that at all. It's just wrapping all the way around in a very de facto style. Heading through A main. There is a tripwire there, which is going to at least help it out. And the camera is smoked off, actually. That's not going to be very useful for Nats, but he might not even need it. There's one. Has to line up all of these players. They almost do in really exciting fashion, but never mind. Sukma wins that fight. Spike gets planted with 13 seconds left on the clock. And Redgar, yet again, is bringing it down to a close 2v2.
Spike's ticking. TikTok on the clock. Party don't stop. Paranoia comes through, but they have a counter paranoia. You do this, I'm gonna do this. Shot's gonna be good, but again, it's the trade. Vicious. Map between him and his opposition. There's the swing. Chronicle going to be taken down, and Gambit now staring down a difficult place. HSDR putting that round on the board. Gambit in a tough economic position, likely going to be a save here. There's potential for a soft buy, but they might not want to risk it. It's sheriffs across the board. So a huge opportunity here for HSDR to not only clean up this round, get Submon ultimate, get Lynxine ultimate, get Vicious one more closer to the resurrection. Set yourself up for the round to follow so you can clean this up 12 or 13 to 10.
Vicious has been the hero for a second time. And the differences now between this round and others is that HSD have taken their foot off the pedal just a little bit now. Gambit wanted to find these engagements, and they find it. Key that they got that kill onto Tabs, not only to reduce the members in the server, but also to get that information to work off. Vicious gets hit by a nice stun, and Nats manages to survive near enough scot-free at this point. They regroup for near enough a free stack over on A. HSD aren't sure how they got away with that.
Tabs. It's just Tabs. I don't even know how. He's already back in the defender spawn. Moments ago, he was in the sewer ropes. How did he get out of there? Put the cage down. They didn't spray him through. And they start off, they find a pick, and they find a conversion into now having an extra weapon on the round. They've also got a lurk in the middle. That's super important to note out, because they can pinch them in slowly. He finds nothing. Nobody's there. No information. So now HSDR are moving as a unit. They're afraid to split up. Tabs still trying to keep that weapon alive, or maybe he gave it to somebody else. Sheriff is still there, 13 HP, but they think that they've taken care of him. Oh my god, he misses him, but Redgar will clean him up. Down to one player. How do Gambit get away with that?
Oh, that was messy if you're HSD. You should not be losing out on those engagements, and you certainly should be dying to a player with the Sheriff that's taking pot shots and missing the majority of them, just like Redgar was there. An over-reliance on Nats and Redgar so far, I think, for this Gambit roster, but they are thriving right now. 11-11, one away from overtime. What a great way to end today with these two teams facing off in this fashion. Two Rolling Thunders available in HSD. Yet again, not looking to go for a quick execute or find these duels. Gambit are learning. When Gambit slow down the pace of the game like this, they usually have that innate advantage.
Pushing up through mid, and there's a double stack on the wall. Ready. Give it to me. They've got a camera B main, so they can rely on the information that it tells there. Nobody in the middle. They can see above the smoke. They've dropped down. So this A hit, at least for the time being, is a good guess here for Gambit. Camera's on the B main side, but Cypher's playing A. I like this because you can use that, tell that information. There's the TP to screens. He won't commit to it. Cancels it last second. So now they know where they're coming in. Here comes the red carpet. It's going to be rolled out. Chronicles ready up above. They've got a counter one as well, but nobody's really within range of it. So now the paranoia is going to stall them even longer. There's the smoke. They're going to funnel up through heaven. But guess who's there? It's Defo alongside Shadows. They get traded 2 for 2 down to the 3v3, but they're still held up by this ramp.
Pace is slowed down now. Redgar wanted to try and retake some of this space on heaven, but we've only 20 seconds left now. What a way to turn around Chronicle at the worst possible time. The stinger of Lynxie finds a third, but it has to find them all now. 13 seconds left. He needs to get this spike planted, but there's players looming over him at this point. He has to kill them both now, but he can't do it. A 4K with a stinger is still not enough. And Redgar, yet again, is the saving grace. This is the freshest player of this roster, and he's been the most impressive. Look at this buy now from HSD. It could end in tragic fashion now at this point. A resurrect can at least be helpful. But Gambit, match point.
This goes here.
Wow. Tough spot to be in here for HSDR. You had that momentum, and then Gambit just thrifted you. Feels bad, man. Here comes the slow orbs. Here comes a lot of that utility. Shados and Defo have been playing towards this mid side quite consistently. It's a scary feat. Now as you try to push in, you're going to be dealing with two exceptional players from Gambit and the support of Nats in case they do end up falling somehow, some way. We've got control of ramp. They have a sight line to see if they're pushing in. They've got a camera towards B main, and so they can feel comfortable in controlling this. Here's a showstopper, and it's going to find its mark, but it does get traded. Here's the answer back. Oh my goodness, the resurrection comes in, but Nats, he was there. He was supposed to refrag, but oh my, it's just going so bad for Gambit. What is happening here? This should not have happened.
Oh, and his position's given up by the camera too. Red guy, if you want to win it now, you've got to absolutely clutch it out for your team for the umpteenth time. Ale, whilst he's not in the server anymore, was so key to just finding openings, finding jewels, and you've got to say Gambit to an extent there. Kind of wanted to stay a little bit long, try and confirm a kill, and he just loses out in the jewels. We're going to overtime by the looks of it. We have a slow death coming in onto Redgar.
Wow.
But this has gone the full distance. I'm glad that we chose this match, Simo, because this is where it matters. No ultimates really going to be coming online for either team now. Full economy, no saves, full overtime fashion. A great finale that we're all hoping for.
That goes there.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
This is a nice spot. This goes here.
So now it all boils down to how the games here are played. For Gambit, we know what their defensive setup looks like. Angles into ramps, camera B main, aggression towards mid. From what we can recall from HSDR, they didn't really have a lot of that B main control, at least from what I remember. I think for Gambit, at least for this initial round, find a little bit of success, maybe looking for that orb control, maybe trying to get Defo into position where he can have a showstopper. It's going to be tough. You'll need 2 picks. Those don't just come easy. You can't just give somebody 2 frags.
Ooh. I don't know if Ali would have taken a lot of damage there, considering that it came off from the position where Chronicle's in now. He thinks the space is free. The flash is good, and Ali can't get out of there at all. Nice play from Gambit to provide an opening. Now HSD are panicking a little bit. You can see the rotation coming in from Vicious, who is now worried that A Heaven is up for grabs. Gambit can play down the clock, bait people out. The spike is over at B, so this is a big bait that can come in from the attacking side, but right now they're just seeing what they can find, what they can check from HSD. They just have one player over on that B site, and a B execute is coming in.
Gonna have to play retake for it, unfortunately. Gambit are prepared for it. Lynxy, he's gonna have to come up big, but playing it incredibly passively. Incredibly passively. That doesn't sound right. Playing it passively. Gambit are gonna rush in.
30 seconds left.
Blastback's gonna keep some of the members kind of at bay for a little bit, but they hear a lot of that movement. Now the spike being planted is hopefully Cypher finally pulls off. He's just chilling. He's vibing out. He's gonna pick up his camera, pack up his things, join the rest of his team. The problem is by the time he gets there, the team might not be there anymore. There's a flank coming in from the opposite side. 2 members. They better show up on time because there's only 3 defending the spike. There's a player up on the rafters. Okay, that's good. Chronicle finds 1. Still a couple more players remaining. Does get traded. Now they've got to come in on time. They're here. They've arrived. Still the Cypher playing from behind. And there's 2 players hiding in the cubby on a double stack. Here they come. Here comes the tap. Here comes the spray. They still alive. That's going to be 1 player down, but Defos is cooking. They're defusing the spike. They need to get involved. They need to push forward. They need to spray. Nats is not there. The defuse comes through for HSD. How did that fall apart for Gambit? They had all the right pieces in all the right places, and HSDR diffuse under their nose.
Again, it's that flank coming in from mids. It doesn't really matter too much if it's just the 1 player that slipped on through, like you pointed out. But when you have Defo doing the same thing, you're so far away to stop that defuse going. And Gambit knew that they had to try and do something to catch off HSD as their post plants, their retakes were so good. But anything but that, you completely alienate yourself from the site. And HSD are able to steal it. Just 1 more round on this attack, and they go through to the 2nd phase of this tournament. Beating Gambit though would be a huge confident boost considering how well this team has been doing recently. And it shows the level of where HSD is currently at. Gambit defending side, so they have that little bit of advantage still. But Chronicle can win it or lose it here depending on how this engagement goes.
I think more on the lurk, like just send one player, don't send two.
Exactly.
But like that thins your odds so much. That's why, at least in North America, we've got like a dedicated lurking player. You know, most teams have a dedicated lurk. But we're not in an A. We're in EU. EU, things are different.
I get the idea, like the whole, you know, they won't expect it a second time. Nobody expects the second punishing position at the end of the day, but Chronicle, that's a key pick to get. The trade out is good from Vicious. No Resurrect is going to be available. He can maybe get one more kill and bring it in. Maybe bring back Ali in the server, but there's almost an over-reliance on that at this point as the executes coming through. Redgar is holding back a little bit, using some of that utility to stall it, but he's not expecting Vicious to be there. Resurrect is available. He's like, take the spike. I'm not dealing with this. I'm going to bring back the Raze player. You do it. This could be it. The spike has been planted. It's a 4 versus 3. And look at the position of Tabs.
Oh.
Shadows does get a key, but look at where the ciphers are.
Why are they so far back? What is happening in this map?
They find
Shadow.
him.
He's the only one here. Like you said, Tabs is gone. Spray down to break down an extra wall, but the spike's ticking. The problem is that they need to move forward. There's a resurrection that came through, and Ale finds another. Down to the 2v2. He's just going to try to play close. They've got a crossfire set up here. The swing. One more. There's the showstopper. That's going to be it, folks. HSD will defeat Gambit and move on to phase 2 tomorrow.
What play from Ali at the end. Him and Vicious. There's no wonder why these two players have constantly been brought up as maybe these teams should sign these guys. What a
What great. HSD, I thought there was a moment, a glimpse of hope here for Gambit. You even see Nats and Redguard. They were topping. They were doing so well. But the comeback for HSD was huge, and now they get to move on to tomorrow.
Speaking of which, we can have a look at who they might be playing at this point. Whether it's hard to say who they're going to specifically face up, but HSD is the first qualifying team out of 4 that will face either Big, Frenzy Got Kill, which is, let's be honest, the rumored Vitality roster with Brams and stuff, Oxygen Esports, and also Defuse. All of these are great teams. You have to put HSD amongst them. But I do think that if these two teams were in separate brackets, both would qualify. In regards to other games going on at the moment, Team Finest is playing up against Master. It's that Turkish team again. I'm just going to call them Master or Master because I don't really know how to pronounce it. You got the B7 Warriors playing up against CGN Esports, the ex-Lunaris roster, who have been doing pretty well considering they've been signed. We have FTW Esports playing up against Wave, who we have seen throughout this tournament. But yeah, unfortunately, Rix falls against, in overtime, by the way, that Turkish team that we've been speaking about. So that was a super close game. But man, I'm glad that we got a finish on this one. What a surprising result. We saw HSD beating the Goliaths of CIS Valorant Gambit And we'll have some more action tomorrow. Like I said, we'll have best of threes. We'll even have some best of fives potentially with the games happening. But out of all of the teams that we've broadcasted today and more, only one team and one cat is going to qualify for the main red bull event. Is it a he or a
Yes.
she? They're beautiful.
It's she. It's she.
Oh,
She is.
blue
She's
eyes.
beautiful. Yes, she's very annoying though. But yes, she's cute. Yeah, no, I'm excited, especially with Valorant like that. That's one way to seal it, and I'm hoping we start that way tomorrow too. That is how I want to start the day tomorrow as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this has been a great testament to the lengths of EU Valorant. I think we have been, we've had those opportunities to see these teams squandered for various reasons, I think, within Europe of 2020. But make no mistake, there's talent out there, whether you've seen them or not. I've tried to be a testament of that, calling out some of the better teams here. But I mean, what better example of a team to surprise you than HSD? They have been grinding hard. There's been a lot of changes. They've been poached to an extent with JD going to Nib, but they're still around and kicking, and they will continue to kick for another day. Join us tomorrow at the earliest start time of midday GMT. So be sure to follow the Twitch stream to keep up to date with that, as well as our Twitters as well, just to keep up to date with what we're doing, as well as this tournament. Also, be sure to check out our producer as well, Bryce, who has been great to work with. But we will be continuing this along tomorrow with an earlier start time and more rounds and games to be played. So we're going to take it easy for the rest of this evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.